Hello, everyone. Welcome to By the Numbers. It's been a while, guys. We're living in a post-major world, a post-truth world. For many of you, it was a post-by-the-numbers world. I know you've missed us. We're going to be dropping 2 episodes this week to make up for all of our patrons out there. So this is the first. Now, I don't know when the next one's going to be. It could be tomorrow. It could be Wednesday. As you can see, I'm out on the fucking road right now, so I'm doing it all ghetto style. I got a dirty blue Yeti microphone here that I found in a cupboard in a paper cup as an impromptu mic stand because they put the wire on the fucking bottom. Just saying, blue. So you have to get the base. You have to get the accessories. They're fucking you up like Hasbro used to with toys. It's outrageous. You've got to buy them all. Fuck that noise. There's a reference none of you kids get. Don't care. Just it's now a boomer podcast. Fuck you all. Anyway, I'm Richard Lewis. That's done the major. This episode is going to be on.
Switch mics, I think.
Yeah, I think
you outrageous bastard.
Thing is, though, I do appreciate living in the 21st century. I get to simultaneously be told by everyone over about 38 that I'm a millennial and going to destroy the entire economy with avocado and toast. But then everyone under the age of about 34 just tells me I'm a boomer, and actually I'm a baby boomer from the 1960s. So
we looked it up during the No Majors Club. We're actually something called Zennials. And there's like a 6-year window.
Like Gen Z into millennials.
Yeah. Because basically it's defined as someone that had an analog childhood but a digital adulthood.
Right, even the way that's phrased just makes me want to literally exit this mortal realm and never again ever have to communicate with humans again. Because that sounds like a tagline for a movie. It's like his childhood was analog, but the future was all too digital. But get me out.
I am 14, and this is deep, right?
I can't
Can you turn your gain down a bit, by the way? Has that got a gain on it?
I mean, it's got buttons.
I don't know what one of them changes modes. I think that's another one for gain. You can turn your gain down.
Me. Definitely could have done this before the show.
Well, when we spoke earlier, when it was just me and you, it sounded great.
Yeah. When we were talking about Gareth,
that's way better.
That's better.
When we were talking about Gareth.
All right, you might have, moved it when you put it in a cup.
It's all my fault for sure. Anyway, I nearly forgot. Let's also do a bit of housekeeping. We do have a sponsor on the show. I keep forgetting that we're not. It's not YouTube. This is live, so we can shout out our sponsor, which of course is. And obviously, Thorin and I had the thing. We talked about it. Yeah. No,
I'm pretty sure they know their place, and I know my place. And as long as everyone stays in their motherfucking places, there'll be no more problems.
That's what I like. That's what I like to hear.
Exactly.
Right. So let's start with before we talk about the games and what went down and all the storylines, which I'm going to pick out at random. Let's talk about the overall major itself, how it worked out. How it'll be remembered, where it fits in the pantheon of other majors and all of that stuff. Now, obviously, you were there. I wasn't. You were a sort of late edition, I think it's fair to say. It kind of felt that way, at least publicly. Sure. I knew knew there was something going on the show, and we couldn't talk about it at the time because it wouldn't have been professional and all that bullshit. But you, Moses, and Anders were added pretty late in the day to the talent crew. You were left out bizarrely from the talent announcement. I don't know if that was a deliberate thing because they wanted to roll you out as a surprise, which again, they missed the trick.
As far as I know it was, yeah.
Yeah. They missed the trick just having you come out and pull like Sean Gares or Pimp or whoever it was off the desk. No entrance music.
I know. That is probably the part that they fucked up the most. The problem is this, right? It's like another reason why they didn't just announce him with the talent announcement is, like, I won't go into too many details because everything still worked out fine. But they did have initially some other plans as to how I would have been used. Like maybe I would have had my own show on the stream somehow. So there were some other potential plans, which by the way, it sounded pretty cool. Like they actually came up with them entirely on their own initiative. It's just that in the end, the way things are when you were organizing things, that was the last thing to do. And so it got caught at the last minute and I just became an analyst. So I agree. Like, I thought the way they introduced me was all right, but if I were them, you either go with you just announce it up front and get with all the criticism, or like you say, you make a big deal of it. Like you do some stupid skit where you know, for some reason there's like the lights go dark. It's like the fucking Undertaker or something. Yeah, you could,
That's exactly what I said, by the way.
More out of it, couldn't you? You could have gotten some more out of it.
Because when you did come on the stream, we were doing the No Majors Club, obviously, and everyone was like talking about it in the chat. And I said exactly that. Like, why not just have the Undertaker entrance? Like, bong, you know, it all goes dark. Sean Gaius has been replaced. Like, you know, and if they'd done organized something like that, you could have took Sam with you. You could have been like Paul Bearer. Oh yes, it's Torrin. Yes, it would have been amazing. Like so, but you know, I'm all for a bit of theatrics because it is entertainment at the end of the day. But you know, there was a lot of stuff. It appeared from back home. Like I just got to say, I don't know if Starlad had planned this major out properly at all. Like I'm free and clear. I'm not going to work with them, and I'm going to really go in on them in the next segment. But first of all, they're not hiring you. Then they're hiring you. They're not having a dedicated observer in using like the PUBG dudes that they've used in the past, and then hiring one partway through. Then there's a show match. Then there isn't, and there was there was just a lot. And again, obviously, I'm privy to the information and knowing that there was some stuff they were going to do with you, and then that didn't happen. So it's like I don't know what the fuck they were doing. It's like literally, it's like it was the most. Like at least face it had a plan. Their plan was shit, but they had a plan and they executed.
Our plan is crashing this major with no eggs.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So it makes sense that that Face It's plan at least was to have chickens and was to employ people that hadn't done majors before and probably were down in the pecking order and were to pass over on more controversial talent and people that were connected with ESL and whatever. That was all part of the plan. They organized it. It was just all dumb. Oh. But Starladder, it was like, how did they think they were going to get away with no fucking observer? I'm aghast. Like, it's almost as important. No, it's on a par with the people you put in the production room and in the production truck because they're the cameramen effectively. They pick the shots, they follow the game. They're the ones listening. They're the ones that are going to get you the iconic moments. And that was never going to fly. You were always going to have to dig yourself out of that hole. And when it gets to a stage where recognizable observers are offering to fly to your event for free and notable talent in the scene is offering to pay to fly them to your event, do whatever it takes. Like, you absolutely fucked up on that one. And sure, they fixed it, but it's almost like stupefyingly either arrogant or stupid or naive to think you were ever going to get away with that.
I mean, I genuinely, that's the one that puzzles me the most because, like, anyone else who's seen Starladder as well knows it's always been an issue they've had. Like, I can't remember off the top of my head because obviously when I was at the Starladders, I wasn't watching them on the stream. But the times I have watched on stream, I've definitely seen some like dodgy observing before, and some times where I would be watching the game to analyze it, be like, why the fuck's the camera on this guy? Like, why is it on the, But the idea of doing that for the major, that is pretty weird. Like, I don't know how they thought they would like style it out because especially the people they had. Like, I don't know if it was a communication thing, if those people hadn't worked together, but that did seem egregiously bad observing, like the first parts I saw before I came to the major.
I thought it might be Reddit at first, right? Because you know how I feel about, like, people just pull stuff out their arse.
Oh, I will say, by the way, Sponge even tested this. He waited after they'd already hired Sliggy, the guy everyone wanted to, and he waited, and people still made threads even after that. So I will say there are definitely idiots that don't know what they're talking about. Like, there was people who basically said it about Sliggy's observing without knowing. They were like dust last second trying to hop on the Smiths hype train, like, fuck Smiths, am I right? And everyone's like, no, we just agreed to forgive him, actually, so fuck you.
Yeah, and we saw... Yeah, we saw examples of just general Reddit stupidity. I mean, again, it's like, it's almost like it's a fucking delivery. I don't even know, like, not even that, like, more like an amplifier. Like, if you're already a moron and you get on Reddit, it amplifies how much of a moron you are to previously unseen levels. Like, I saw a thread, Stunner slurred one word in like his open, like in a desk segment, and then like did like a weird awkward laugh. Obviously, he thought of something funny to himself. Literally a front page Reddit thread saying, "Stunner drunk?" question mark. I was like, this can't be fucking real, but it was real, and people were going, "Yeah, sounds like Stunner's been on the beers all day, all night," and it's like, None of this is real, you fucking chuckleheads. Like, you know, you're imagining this, and you're all in your little diseased circle jerk talking like it's real. Like
it's up there with the people. You'll have seen this before, because it must have been in your YouTube comments. The people who always claim it's like obvious that I have telltale signs of cocaine abuse, even though, like, listen, I can't lie. I'm on a pretty good rate nowadays, but like the idea, first of all, I've been doing this shit from 2014. Definitely wasn't on a good rate back then. But even the idea that I'd be banging out that much per day, but still just doing loads of esports content, it's so ridiculous, isn't it?
Oh, no, I mean,
like £500 a day habit, and I'm just doing esports content on the side.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's why you have to do it. It's like, think about it as well.
That would be the next level conspiracy. Yeah, if you built that in, that's why I had to be so prolific on video. Yeah, I'm gonna get that next time, Rich.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, right, fucking Brood War and Beast. Yeah. Who's that cut? Get in a minute.
It's why you've got that like ridiculous streak of a video every day. You just don't know what to do with yourself. You're just bouncing off the fucking walls at home. And you're like, right, well, better record a video about fucking Quake. Yeah. Just loving it, mate. But no. This is just prescriptive at the time, so I won't go into one of those social media tangents because there's too much to talk about. But like, there was just a lot of stuff that was like, you're absolutely right. People were criticizing the Observing even after Sliggy came, and we knew that he was there immediately on the No Majors Club stream. Obviously, Sam was producing it.
Oh, there's another weird thing.
You could see immediately.
That in itself shows that there is something weird about how Starladder does communicate, because you know they also didn't immediately announce it when he was actually at the event.
No,
they just let people think it was not that. Like, what I don't get about these ones is like, that's just like a free win. Just kneel down and pick it up. Just do a tweet that just says, okay, Sliggy's here now, like you guys asked for. Let's enjoy the major. Like,
one thing Face It do better than Starladder is, I mean, because, you know, Face It are kind of like, they are like, you know, again, we use the cuckold example quite a bit, but it's like they are like, you know, the Reddit users are in Face It's house. They're not just having sex with their wives. They've got their feet up on the desk. They're watching their big screen TV. They're turning to Face It and saying, "Oh, make us a cup of tea, Dave. Yeah, and you know, I need to replenish some fluids after, you know, giving your missus a C and doing that." And then they always go, "Absolutely, Reddit. Yeah, there you go. There's that tea for you. I remember 2 sugars. Yeah, 2 sugars. I make it just the way you like it, just like you give it to my wife, just the way she likes it." And that's their relationship with Reddit. Starladder didn't even know what to do to get a win. They didn't even know how to frame it. So it was like, you asked for an observer, we got you one of the best. It's Sliggy. You know, and everyone goes, "Oh, Starladder's great." I mean, you know, you saw that Sean Gares tweet where it was the green ticks, where it was like, they did this.
By the way, did you like
the freshest dudes?
Because here's the thing: even though some of his points were obviously accurate, like obviously some of the things had been fixed.
He didn't say anything.
No, there's nothing that crazy in there. But what's hilarious is that just shows how the community, it's not to do with, I've told people this a million times, but they'll always gaslight you. It's not to do with you. Like, Sean Gares is about the most harmless community figure we have. And go look at the comments, mate. They were right up his ass 24/7 after that tweet. Yeah. Like, people were just wrecking, like, "You fucking shill piece of shit, sell out." There was even like the usual conspiracy theories that people were actually speculating that in our contracts it says we can't like disparage Starladder, which it probably does, but I mean, I don't know if you know this, but there are no contracts in fucking casting. I don't know where that myth came from. I've signed about 3 in my entire life to do casting.
Yes.
But anyway, imagining there was this imaginary contract, the idea that like they actually have some level of control, it's like, you're out of your mind, mate.
Oh yeah, it was pretty ridiculous, the reaction he got. But then again, I think that, you know, I understand what he's trying to do. You are going to get called a shill if you ever come out and you know, try and shill for the event while you're still there and try, you know, make up for clear mistakes. But look, so I'll ask you about the show match before we go into the next thing, like, because I think the community definitely want to know what the fuck went on there, because it was clear there was meant to be one.
I believe it actually was technically listed on one of the ticket sellers, like within the description info text or whatever. Which I will just say, by the way, listen, no offense or anything, guys, but if you were from our country of the United Kingdom, that you would absolutely be getting a lawsuit over that, or something along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, well, not just that as well. We've got to be consistent, right? Because like we don't play favorites on this show. We make that very clear. And we have absolutely wrecked the Blast for essentially false advertising from their events, right? So if we're going to do it for them, we got to do it for Starladder. And hey, you might say it ain't no big deal to fucking not, that's just a show match. Does anyone really care, you know? But you advertised it. You said it was going to be there. It's an expectation of a major now that there's going to be one. Even E-League continued that trend. You know, it wasn't ours. I want to say the first one was it Face It did it first?
First ever show match at a major?
Yeah, was it ESL or Face It?
The problem is it's hard to remember because obviously ESL themselves have had so many like show matches, but I don't know if they were at majors. You might be right on that one. I don't know.
Yeah.
Did they oh no, I know at Cologne 2016 they had one because that was one where I made a fucking.
There you go. Yeah.
About Miss Harvey, where when they were on the same teams, right, Miss Harvey and Kenny S were stood there, and then Kenny S looked all nervous before the show match, and I made a joke on the because I had to analyze the show match. So fuck you if you hire me to analyze a show match. This is what I'll do. I went, no wonder Alex that Kenny S looked so nervous. He's only won a world championship one time. Miss Harvey's won it 6 times. You're like,
very good at it. Very good at it.
Yeah, that was pretty good, man. It was pretty because the joke there is. If you don't find that joke funny, you're obviously a big art. Yeah, so
yeah, exactly.
You checkmated there, haven't I, guys?
Yeah, mental 4D chess once again from Thorin. This is why people like to say you are like the Trump. But anyway, yeah, you're right. It was Columbus was the first one because it was the original concept for the show match was meant to be it was like the best players from the tournament.
Yeah, there you go.
And then it shifted because some players don't want to play. I don't know why you'd miss an opportunity to get your individual brand out there, but you know, by being selected as one of the best players at the World Championships. But you know, players aren't always that switched on, and they can be a lazy bunch from time to time. But and then it kind of evolved into the kind of like wrestling theatrics we saw popularized by ESL and Face It continued it, and E-League continued it before them. So there is an expectation there now, is my point. So do you have any insight as to why it was cancelled? Do you know anything?
As I just alluded to earlier, I absolutely did not sign any contracts with anyone, which means I did not sign any NDAs with anyone. So I can choose what I say, but I will say this. Based on information I have, there was a plan the whole time to have a show match. Like, that seems pretty reasonable even from the outside, as you can see. I personally thought it would have been great. Like, what people might not realize is I actually agreed to play in it myself. Now, that would have certainly been interesting circumstances, but that's also because, like, a side thing was those of us in the talent were pushing to make it a 1.6 show match. We thought that'd be a cool angle, right? Have it be, because half of us all from 1.6 anyway, be a cool angle. The joke even was like, why not do it and have it in like Toscan, a map we don't have in this game, to show off that we need new maps, you know, go with that whole angle.
That would have been sick.
One thing I can say is that, to my knowledge, some of the teams who got eliminated early, I won't say which teams, and as a result, you would want to use their players in the match because since they would have thought they were going to win the major, they would still be there. Those teams declined to let their players play because players in 2019 still don't get it. They don't get the basics, Richard. Like, players in 2019 in Counter-Strike don't even know what players in 2011 in StarCraft 2 understood, which is your only job for your team is to bring them exposure, which they can exchange for advertising dollars through sponsorship. That is it. That's the only thing your play has value. If you win the tournament, it has no relevance to whether or not you get more sponsorship through your team and therefore get paid. They still don't get it, Richard. They still think, no joke, that in 2019, their job... This is what's mad. It's like you could imagine some proto-communist came to these players and goes, you know, your owner's exploiting your labor. He makes a lot of money from you and you only get paid, what's this, a measly $20,000 a month? Well, let me just look at the whole metrics of esports. Yes, you should clearly be on a lot more than $20,000 a month. And for that $20,000 a month, don't let your owner con you into doing anything you aren't getting paid for, son. You only do what it says in your contract. So these dumb motherfuckers in 2019 don't realize, if I'm one of the tournament favorites and I go out in the first round of the playoffs, right, a clever move would be accept every possible measure which allows me more exposure during this tournament I was eliminated from much earlier than I thought. No. Instead, I won't do interviews. Some people don't go to the media day. They cancel that, as we've seen at past majors. And that's not playing a show match. A match that's held on the same day as the final, before the final, and therefore be watched by a lot of people, and will be a chance to, for free, show off that I'm fun, I've got a good personality, I'm a good player, that I exist, that I'm here on the final day of the major. Let's not do any of that. let's just say I'm out of the tournament, so don't feel like playing the show match. So I will say there was a lack of pros, to my knowledge, to play in the match. So it would, I think, have just been talent, which I'm still up for anyway. That would be all right. But I don't know if you could actually get 10 talent who could play in the match if you consider who has to cast and all that. So I won't say it's not all on Starlight. Like some of it was. I think it was, I agree with you, probably poorly managed. They should have known from way at the beginning whether there was going to be one or not. But players didn't help on this one. Like as I say, they still don't get it.
That's a real shame. And, you know, and listen, because I'll be going in on Valve in a little bit as well. You know, we've had like the, you know, big anniversary of Counter-Strike, right? And what did we get? Like a fucking Dust 2 reskin or whatever it was. And, you know, you could play the old Dust 2 for a little bit. Like, very cool. Like one of the fucking games that like built your fucking company's reputation. One of the like the benchmark for team-based esports, and that's where you're at with it. The lack of any sort of remarkable events around Counter-Strike these days is starting to get very wearing and shows Valve's priorities. And something like that, like a 1.6 show match, a nod to the old days. Maybe bring out some 1.6 pros. God B was in the building giving out the trophy. Maybe make him an IGL for one of the teams. You know, let him roll back the years and people can see him and his. You know,
could even get some of the coaches. They all were fucking 1.6 players.
Yeah, like there's so much you can do with this. And I said it at home actually. Again, when we were doing the No Majors Club. I was like, now, I know you got a bit of a, and your point is absolutely valid, by the way. Like, Get Right himself hasn't said he's actually retiring. It's just been intimation and stuff. But we've gone with that narrative now. So when Nip got knocked out, you could have done a nice little feature on Get Right. You should have probably had that one in the can, ready to go, you know? And you don't have to say he's actually retiring. You could frame it as, you know, when will the legend be back?
Will he ever play another major?
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, will he play another major? Sit down and interview him so we can get to the bottom of it once and for all. Have that feature in the can, ready to go for when Nip go out, so you can just cut to it. This is like the type of thing we were doing at E-League. This is the type of thing I expected from the majors. There was no features of that nature at all at this event. There was just none of it. I would keep one eye on the monitor thinking there's going to, like, I know Valve don't seem interested in doing the things that they were doing to begin with, where you got to meet legendary players and you got to produce those like little documentaries and featurettes that were then available, you know, to watch on fucking, you know, Steam and stuff like this. That made it look like with the major system finally taking off, we were going to get a little bit closer to the level of love and shine that Dota gets. Past two majors, there've been none of those. Past three, I want to say, actually. Don't think we've actually had a proper Valve feature in 3 majors. Don't think we've had anything I would consider high-quality feature material. We're getting to the point, guys, where the legends are going to be gone. Neo's going to be gone. Forrest's going to be gone. Just had his worst performance at the major. Talk about that in a little bit. These guys aren't coming back. If you don't pay tribute to them now while they're here, you may as well just spit in their fucking face and say, fuck you, thanks for nothing. Because how many majors are these guys going to play at again? And Starlight had a real opportunity here to do something for Neo, to do something for Get Right, to do something for all these other players that are out there, and nothing. And it's not about money, because you can do the usual talking head shit. It's a camera crew, a black curtain, and the player and a Lavelle microphone. Me and Sam will come and do it for you. For I don't know what's our day rate, Sam. Come and do something like that.
Grand.
Do it for a grand. It's always a grand with Sam. He always says a grand. We'll come out and we'll do a day's worth of that for you for a grand, right? And it'll be sick. I'll ask the questions. Sam will film it, and then you can cut that with footage. And so you need a video editor too, but maybe Sam will do that too for another grand.
That in. Yeah, another grand.
Yeah, you're right. He'll chuck it in. He said a grand, not a gram, guys. That's Duncan's rate, right? Evidently. But it was just like, we literally had all these epic storylines at this major. There wasn't one feature dedicated to hyping it up. And it was a real missed opportunity. This is an old game, you know?
One thing that does absolutely baffle me is, like, listen, obviously it's on Starladder whether they want to do shoulder content or when they just run the tournament. I mean, everyone in the world loses money running a major anyway, so I can't decide for them whether they should do that. But I do think it is mind-blowingly short-sighted that they didn't have a feature about Astralis versus Team Liquid, like the premise of those two battling for history. Like, that is mind-blowing, because like I did an article where I made the point that like Team Liquid was like the biggest favorite in the history of CSGO going into a major if you looked at all the factors. So obviously the angle that one team's trying to make history by winning 3 in a row, the other one's trying to win their first, like that's just an obvious one to do. So I am amazed some of these things get left behind. But as I said before, like I just think for whatever reason, StarLadder's way of doing things is they just do what a lot of people do, which is you make a list of priorities and anything on the bottom end just doesn't get done. You do the top 4 or 5 or whatever.
And sure, the top has to be the tournament. And listen, I think Start Later is a hilarious meme. But this actually was a tournament that had some of the fewest delays I've ever seen from a definitely from a major. I don't even people forget Boston was a great tournament, but we had a lot of problems with E-League. We must have played that CS documentary feature like 5 times on fucking day one.
Unless I'm mistaken, I think the only delay I remember even was Woxic breaking his mouse or something. I don't think it even was actually a StarLadder.
There was a tech problem on the very first game for the first hour. And then people went immediately with Start Later.
I've heard, by the way, on that as well. That is the same thing that happened to every major, and that's on Valve. That Valve doesn't like.
Heard that too.
Will sort of like not give you the time to properly stress test your whole thing with the latest update, and obviously they love fucking rolling out updates during tournaments as well.
Yeah. So I mean, like while Start Later is a hilarious meme, it's completely inaccurate to how efficient and effective the tournament was run. And you're right. They make this list of priorities. It just baffles me, though, because it's like at the end of the day, tournaments that have had problems, like Boston, I want to say there was some at Columbus as well, honestly, remembering back, certainly before we moved out to the arena. I'm pretty sure ESL has had some in the past as well at majors, like Katowice comes to mind. When you go back and look at the history of our game, it sucks for the here and now for the people who need to tune in if there's a delay and the games aren't running, or you have to push games back and players get pissed off. That all sucks. But people, when they look back, they care about stories, they care about feature content, they care about the quality of the matches, they care about the iconic commentary moments. That's what you go back to. The minutia of getting it all on time actually doesn't matter in terms of legacy or whatever. So it's weird how low down things like talent and content actually end up on that priority list for every tournament organizer. And a part of it, of course, is that no fucker makes any money on this. That's definitely a big problem. If there was a way to make money off of those things at a major, I'm sure more people would do that. Final bit of criticism, just the hiring process seemed to be an absolute shit show. It really looked like for a while it was going to be me, you, Moses, and Anders as the core of the No Majors Club, along with we would have had a pretty good fucking talent lineup. We would have had Dust Vince, Anders, Moses, you, me, Sam. Davey was coming on. He did great during the No Majors Club, by the way.
Maniac at one point.
Yeah, Maniac we had on there. Steel came by. We had Mo. Yeah, like Red Eye came by, Frankie Ward came by, Jason Lake came by. We could have literally put out like an infographic and said, look at the fucking talent we had for this. And it would have been banging. It would have been right up there with challenging the majors. So I think that's ridiculous. If somebody like me could cobble basically my mates together to do a home broadcast. But then on top of that, you've got what was their plan for the final? Because Henry and Sadikis split. We know that. Then Henry wasn't even there for the last week. We know that. And Anders and Moses, who weren't even hired, did the final. What was their plan going to be if Anders and Moses weren't there? They would have had to sort of clumsily negotiate with Henry and be like, "Can you stick around for an extra week, please?" It's just, again, it just reeks of being disorganized to a degree that I just can't conceive of. Because it should have been Moses and Anders in the final, frankly. Should have been. If Henry and Sadikis split up, they're the next go-to for me. But those guys weren't even going to be hired.
I mean, I will say, I know obviously they do events in Dota 2, so I can't comment too much on this, but I will say in CS at least, StarLadder obviously isn't a company that travels as much. They do the majority of their events in Kiev, and even when they do it in a stadium, it's still always this exact same stadium in Kiev. I'd assume, I know they went to Minsk once when they had to do that StarLadder when it couldn't do there because of the political situation, but they're not like ESL. I don't think they've done 50 big cities around the world. So I would guess even stuff like that, it's fucking hard to do when you've never done it before.
Yeah. So now this is the final bit of overall criticism. Then we'll give it a ranking, and then we'll talk about the games.
Right.
The DMCA bullshit. I don't know how much of that was filtering through to you guys in Germany, but just to give you an appraisal of the situation, for the first time ever, a major organizer went and DMCA'd, using copyright law to take down people streaming GoTV. And in those, when you do a DMCA claim, you are saying a few things. The crucial one is, under penalty of perjury, you are saying, I own the copyright to the material I am claiming. And because of the safe harbor protections for platforms, the platform gets the leeway of, hey, if you've been broadcasting, if someone broadcasts something illegally, violates copyright law on your platform, we don't punish you, we punish them, because you agree to comply with DMCA requests. So I saw some people criticizing Twitch. It's absolutely not on Twitch. Lots to criticize Twitch for. This ain't one of them. It absolutely falls on two parties. We'll start with StarLadder. StarLadder basically prohibited multiple streamers from showing GoTV on stream. Flom was a notable one. War Owl was affected as well. These are big Counter-Strike content creators. Mo was another one, big Counter-Strike streamer. It obviously applies to all the IGLs, like Steel couldn't do it either. But almost as important, if not more so to a certain degree, all the small-time community casters that want to practice casting games and maybe make a name for themselves and break out, they couldn't do it either. And it wasn't just they DMCA'd the big channels, they DMCA'd little ones that had like 100 viewers. Now, I expected, they tried that bullshit with me, and I just told them, I have a copyright lawyer on standby. We'll go to war today if you want to. I think it would be silly. We got to be working in this industry together for a while. I'm not somebody who you want to piss off. And you definitely don't want to piss off my lawyer, because I know for a fact you do not own the copyright to Counter-Strike. The end. End of discussion. You might think you have the rights to sell it. Valve might even have agreed to give you those rights. Valve needed to publicly, state that going into this major. Will come to Valve. But you do not own that. You do not own the copyright to that game. And if you read the bullshit, if you read the bullshit that they put in to their rule book, which, by the way, you daft cunts. I'm writing a rule book down now on this hotel pad, right? Duncan, it says you're not allowed to enter the UK anymore. It's my rules. It's Richard Lewis's immigration rule. No Thorin in the UK. Well, it's in a rule book now, mate, so you can't do it. What fucking nonsense is this? Your rule book does not apply to me. I am not a participant in your tournament. I am not attending your event. You're talking out your ass. It doesn't matter what's in the rule, but you can fill that with anything. You can say you owed money by the fucking US government. You got to give you you put anything you want in there. It's a rule book for participants who agree to. It's a terms of service, a code of conduct that only applies to players playing at your tournament. It does not apply to me. So write down whatever the fuck you want, StarLadder and other TOs. It's not real. It's a fabrication. It's a fairy tale. So I told them that. And I said, by the way, if you take down my stream for 14 days, the loss of earnings that I'll make in that time, that's the damages up front, plus whatever stream growth it is. And I'll make sure that everybody knows that you actually perjured yourself. And then you can deal with the ramifications for that if we can find anyone willing to prosecute. So let's do it if you want. And they just left me alone. They said, you're all right, Rich, which makes me feel like a cunt. Because I did the flex, and Eric didn't, and he was nervous, and War Owl didn't, and he was nervous. Understand it's worse for War Owl, because in the rule book, that of course is bullshit and means nothing, it says they own the rights to the demo files. There is no way on God's green earth you own the rights to a demo file. It is a Valve file. They code that file. It is an algorithmic recreation of what happens in their video game. StarLadder, ESL, any other cunt who thinks they've got a leg to stand on here, bad news. Not a lawyer, Go find your lawyer that's going to actually go to bat for you
That's
owning a
almost up
file
there.
coded by Valve. Good luck
That's
with that.
almost up there with the time that Alex Garfield actually told me directly that he owned Fraud's likeness inside the game Counter-Strike. And I told him, listen, mate, I'm not hot on law, but pretty sure that doesn't make any fucking sense at all. But fair enough.
Yeah, the sun literally has just come into the gap. By the way, so
Yeah,
I'm getting
a
blasted.
certain time of
But here's
day
the
you
thing.
are going to get blinded.
Yeah, if I pull it again, it's gonna move and then it'll go dark. So, like, do you reckon the sun will just move? It does that, doesn't it? The sun moves.
Given enough time.
Yeah, give it five. Yeah, give it 5
back
minutes.
a little bit. It's perfect.
Oh,
there you go.
No, but I like being hunched over my keyboard. Anyway, so that is just outrageous, and they handled it terribly. They basically threatened the community and issued DMCAs. Now, if you don't know how a DMCA works, if you're watching the stream, they're permanent. They're permanent.
And as
Right.
Richard said earlier, the one thing you didn't complete the thought on is if Twitch gets a DMCA, they don't go, well, are the legal rights there? By default, they will just say, because it's built into the clause that you perjure yourself if you're not allowed to do it, they just will say, right, I'm assuming whoever's issuing this DMCA owns the copyright. So I will take it down because that's what they have to do to protect themselves. So
Yeah.
the problem in that scenario is like Twitch is just going to do it anyway. It doesn't matter whether they themselves do or don't know. They're not going to risk a lawsuit themselves.
Yeah, so you end up with this like ridiculous situation where now they did rescind the DMCAs, but if they hadn't have done that and admit that they were false, that's what you have to do to rescind a DMCA, that they were done in error, wink, wink, then they would have been on Flom's record. If he gets 2 more DMCA requests, bogus or not, his channel gets struck. Same for War Owl. Same for anybody. Most platforms, it's a 3 strikes and your livelihood's gone. So fucking with people on that basis is outrageous to begin with. Let me also tell you something about the DMCAs. They didn't even put a fucking reason in that you have to by law. This isn't something I'm pulling out my ass. You must give the reason why you're filing the DMCA and say which content you own by law in the DMCA request. They didn't do that. It's an automated form on Twitch. They were served blank. I didn't even know you could do that. So maybe Twitch did push them through, in which case Twitch is complicit with that. But you have to say, this is the content. And do you know why they didn't do it? Because, again, good luck putting under penalty of perjury, you own the copyright to Counter-Strike. You don't. And it pisses me off because the reality here is, remember when the Facebook deal prompted ESL to DMCA Admiral Bulldog and these other Dota streamers, Valve were on that shit immediately and said, listen, the only people that will DMCA streams from in-game client footage will be us. We own the game, not ESL. Within hours, they had a statement out. Right? And then Starlad had the nerve, by the way, to try and Jedi mindfuck me and went, well, their rules for Dota are different for CSGO. Same company, same game. Oh, and of course, there's emails circulating saying it's perfectly okay to stream it. It's all agreed with Twitch that you can do it, right? So let's not pretend what the precedent is. So Starlad handled that appallingly. And the fact that it was not fixed, and that they were threatening streamers. Like, Eric didn't stream for the rest of the event. That cost him money. It's not going to be much. I'd still sue. But I got time on my hands. Maybe Eric doesn't give a fuck.
Thing is, right, listen, okay, by the way, I obviously agree with all this. Like, I would never DMCA all the shit. I would just literally think it's just some community stuff. If anything, might even increase the viewership on your event collectively in terms of some people who wouldn't watch the mainstream might watch that way, and it's still a way to enjoy the game, right? Plus, I'm not certain on this, but I believe you can even count like the GoTV numbers in with your overall viewership count anyway.
Yeah,
so I think it actually could even literally help the viewing numbers.
Yep.
As a positive. So I would say, and then whether you in fact did own the rights, maybe you do own the copyright right. It doesn't matter. The optics are so bad on banning a bunch of big name streamers. It blows my mind. But this is what I find weird though, is listen, the initial reaction to Starlad is totally legit. I would be very annoyed with them. But what really confused me, and one thing I thought was kind of dirty, is the person who's actually there will always be the one who takes all the flack. The person who isn't there and might have done way worse, they're not going to get any flack. They're not in the room. There's no one to get angry at. So 2 angles I'm confused about, because I never saw this, was first of all, you are absolutely correct. It is not on Twitch whatsoever to know whether these are legit DMCAs, to know the owns your copyright. But I tell you what is on Twitch. They call people like Mo and Flom partners. They're in a partnership program with them. Why the fuck can Twitch at the World Championship of Counter-Strike not even contact directly StarLadder or Valve themselves? Why does Twitch not have an intercontact Valve and say, by the way, you know, we're that massive company that hosts all your tournaments that you need yourself to make any money from esports from this game. And we just want to check, since we're having to ban a lot of our streamers as per the DMCA laws, can you tell us if you in fact do own the copyright or whether you've extended that license to StarLadder? Because if you have, we can solve this overnight. I know maybe you don't want to comment on it, but we'll solve this. Twitch never did that, apparently. Or if they did, they literally were incapable. They were impotent and couldn't even get a call to Valve somehow. And then I can't even believe that the community bagged on StarLadder rather than Valve. Like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So what you're saying there is like, that's like someone coming around, right? And I'm a little kid, and then someone who isn't even in my family just comes and starts beating me. And then goes, but your dad said I can do it. It's like, imagine my dad's just in the other room, and I'm like, Dad, is that all right? No, he's not answering. It's got to be he's got to be culpable at some point in time. As you say, for people who don't know, it's even more egregious in the Dota 2 case, because the tournament in Dota 2 was what is classified in Dota as a minor. It was ESL ESL 1 Genting in early 2018. And literally immediately, as soon as the DMCA issue came up, I think within 1 day, Valve had like officially confirmed that like you can restream the GoTV. Don't worry about that. You're not going to get DMCA'd anymore. And they essentially told ESL to fuck off. It didn't matter that ESL had a license and was part of it. They took, right? This is the major of Counter-Strike. And to this day, it is now fucking the 17th of September. The major ended in early September. Valve to this day hasn't commented on this topic. They don't care. They do not care about the top. So they don't care if more gets banned. They don't care if everyone got banned off Twitch. They don't give a fuck.
No, they absolutely don't. Right.
And without them, this is not possible. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, let me fix the curtain, and then I'll give you my my.
He's had a shimmy out, try and hide his ass.
I mean, I'm saying I'm gonna fix it. I don't know if I can.
He's probably just doing a fucking jam one. He's like, right, turn the button up then.
Right, how's that?
Tremendous. Bestest luck.
There you go.
It'll have to do. Right.
But
anyway,
do you not find that so feckless that, like, listen, definitely StarLadder should be within the people you criticize, but the idea that everyone's just giving Valve a pass just shows how mad cocked the CS community
no,
is.
but this is why I can't do it anymore.
That's what, like, everyone said, by the way, that I was obviously a shill as well. Like, you know, I'd have done. Did I not? Go and check. The day before or something that I came to StarLadder to do a tweet basically saying Valve must literally address this now, like ASAP. By the way, you do realize, dumb fucks out there, by the same logic that you all apply, Valve could just call StarLadder up and go, yeah, get that guy off. He's just criticized us before he came on the street. But unlike you, cocks, I actually did it.
Yeah. Well, so this is where I got to burn the final bridge I got left to burn in esports. For years, I have fucking challenged the myth that Valve don't give a fuck about Counter-Strike, that they play favorites. You know, I have literally gone to bat for them and explained how the team works there. And I've done it sometimes even when I've had distasteful interactions. I've always maintained contact with Valve. I'm somebody that, because I've been given emails and channels of communication, that I use them, right? So I'm somebody who in my spare time, not doing reports, if I get wind of a private cheat that's out there or somebody sends me something or an exploit, I send it to Valve in my spare time through the channels I have available to me. Whenever I hear a rumor about a pro player maybe having a VAC banned account, I say, this is a drama that might blow up. You might want to get ahead of this and do an investigation. And I send them all the information. I've always tried to work with Valve to make the community a better place. And my reward for that has been, you know, just nothing. I don't want a reward, but, you know, they don't even acknowledge me. I just get a one-word reply, like thanks or whatever, right? This time around, I told them, your partner who is making the major is threatening to basically take my channel down, and I am streaming GoTV, right? And they're banning content creators for your game, and it's happening right now. Can you please look into this? Or if someone's on site, please talk to StarLadder. Then when StarLadder tried to escalate it and thought they'd have a flex, so I had a flex back, I emailed Valve again. Not only did I not get an answer, we're still waiting for a response. And it's a fucking disgrace. And it shows how little they actually do give a shit about this game. We're waiting, longer and longer for cases, longer and longer for content. Stuff is slipshod. The major feels lackluster these days. I can't defend it anymore. Valve don't give a fuck. They don't. Now that the skins gambling thing's dying down and maybe it wasn't as lucrative as it once was, the reality is they do not care. This DMCA situation that they allowed is unconscionable. You are letting your business partners essentially abuse copyright law in your name to hurt people that prop up your game.
That lasted about 2 weeks, remember, it's not like the old days where the majors 3 days. Like, I think that remember, that whole issue was before, I think it was all before the second phase. The first phase I came to of the majors, so like the new Challenger Legends stage or whatever. So that means there was 2 whole weeks that they didn't even address this.
Yeah. And I knew what was going down because people were saying to me, like, Davey was wait to the end. They don't want to throw a business partner under a bus. It's a lie, guys. Wow. They just literally were asleep at the wheel. They definitely know about it, and they just don't care. And so now we have this unbelievable situation going into the next major. Will there even be community streams? Because StarLadder essentially got away with it. They got away with it. And even though Valve have always said you can stream anything that's in their game client, they don't care enough about putting that out there and challenging a business partner. They don't care enough to basically put their foot down over it. And we are talking a tweet, by the way. All they had to do was say, This is a misunderstanding. You have the right to stream what's in the in-game client. Now, I know it's a little bit different because GoTV relays are on servers.
Even if for whatever reason it turns out they have granted a license, just say it so we know.
Just say it so we know. Exactly, because the DMCA ain't nothing to fuck with. Like Wu-Tang. It's ridiculous that they're fucking doing that to people. And the lack of clarity one way or the other is because they just are not bothered at all. They're playing catch-up on Dota Underlords to get into the fucking auto chess thing because Artifact was a disaster. They had TI going on, so they were all popping corks over that. Record profits. Meanwhile, we got the World Championships of Counter-Strike going on. Members of the... again, people like War Owl are the lifeblood of your community. I ain't just saying it to suck his dick because he's a YouTuber with 1 million followers or whatever the fuck. You know, me and him, actually, we've only interacted on a handful of occasions. He's always come across as a nice guy to me, right? But the reality is he's somebody that does videos that encourage amateurs to play the game, to get over the hump of the learning curve, interesting content about the history of the game. He's dedicated to that shit. He is dedicated to that shit, and he was too afraid to even record a demo because the language StarLadder made up on the spot gives them the right to retroactively at any time DMCA his YouTube content. And they even replied to him saying, oh, no, you can use the demo files. Why does it say they're yours then? Valve scratched their ass and didn't give a fuck the entire time. And I'm not gonna bat for that anymore. That's outrageous. It's outrageous. It's outrageous that their official community account interacts with people that have been involved in distributing harmful information and leaked private information, right? From like fucking people's emails. And yet you don't even tweet at talent. You won't interact with people that have given 15 years of their life to fucking do good for your game. But memes, right, guys? Fuck you. It's so pathetic. This should have been cleared up in 5 fucking minutes. And you just don't care enough about it. That's indefensible. It's indefensible that your business partners are under more and more pressure and put on a better and better show every fucking time for the same money that it was. It's indefensible that the prize money didn't fucking scale up. It's indefensible that a major rolls around and you don't make new content. Where are the fucking new maps? Where are the cases? It doesn't even have to be cases. Just think of something. Just do something.
Fuck's sake. Can we have some crowdfunding, please? Please. It can't just be stickers anymore. Can't just be stickers.
It is absolutely ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous, the lack of concern they are giving about Counter-Strike. And as I said earlier, this is an old game. So unless you've got a sequel planned, which, spoiler, they don't, there's not one in the works, then every world championship is an opportunity to bring new people into the game and keep it alive and keep the scene alive. And it's not like this game makes them no money. It's not like it's Source or 1.6 and we're clinging on to the vestiges of life. We are still one of the top tier. Yeah.
Didn't it just last month or something hit the most like players online ever or something? I think it actually did.
Yeah, a few months ago, right? So this should be a priority to Valve, but it isn't. And I just can't defend it because it's too apparent the disdain that they have now for the people that do so much for their scene. And I ain't talking about me. I got my way. I don't give a fuck. You want to smash me in the face? I'll smash you right back. We'll keep smashing each other all fucking day until one of us drops down because I'm stupid like that. I'm like Joe Pesci in fucking Casino. I will end up in the hole. But until then, I'm all up in your fucking grill. You feel me? So I don't give a fuck. But there were other people that fucking do give a fuck. And like Eric was devastated, by the way. He's never had anything like that. He's a fluffy, bearded, sweetheart motherfucker. He's soft as shit. You know what I mean? Like
he's probably calling his mom up like, Mom, they think they're going to DMCA my channel. She was like, have you tried talking to the boy? Have you just told him you can be friends and get over it?
Yeah, it's just ridiculous that Eric was like, he was really upset and didn't know what to do. And that's on Valve. His lack of money, that's on you, Valve. On your fucking castle, just made out of pure cash. Like, what should we have for breakfast today, eh? Yen? You know? It's fucking ridiculous just how much money they fucking make. And you're going to let a business partner bend over a fucking streamer and have his livelihood threatened because you're too lazy to tweet something. Honestly, it fucking sickens me. It sickens me. I've been a mug the entire time because I've been coming out and saying, no, they do care, guys. They do care. No. The iBuyPower thing where they, where they didn't clarify whether it was permanent or indefinite for 2 fucking years and kept those poor cunts dangling. That was a misunderstanding. It wasn't malicious. It's
to be fair, it is always different people as well, though, involved. Like, I'm sure some of the people, like, I remember that Matt Wood guy was pretty cool, but he left years ago, mate. So I imagine also some of the people involved now aren't the people involved from 5 years ago, right? It's
the fucking culture, though. It's the culture, and I fucking hate it. Like, you look over a fucking Dota and you see how they treat their community guys who have literally, like, created all this like sick content. Legendary players. They're going to be
dude. You know what kills me? If you watch this last TI, in the fucking game, they are literally using that chat wheel that has the announcers' voices in the match itself. Imagine if you're like that OD Pixel guy with like the OG players were spamming his thing all the time. Like, and you're someone like Anders and you wake up, oh, let's just check out Dota. Oh, they love and appreciate their talent in that game. They're all hired for the major and their game's got loads of money in it. Well, just life base and everything.
There's some problems over there if I really wanted it. Like, for example, they took an iconic call from a commentator, the Seb. I don't. The worst play that has the best call. It's a very ordinary, like, axe call. Like, just happened to get a few people, but it was, it turned the game or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
And of course, the boy fucking absolutely nailed it with the Seb. But they used it as a fucking. They use that line as an inducement to spend more money because the more levels you had, the longer your Seb got. And people were doing Seb measurement because, it's hilarious. Like, if you wreck somebody, you kill him and you've got a 10-minute Seb going, Seb! You just bodied someone, like, it's fucking hilarious. But, he's not making a share on all the Sebs. For every E that they sell, he's not, and I do mean the letter, but he's not getting a cut. So there's lots of shit I could fucking get into here, mate. But the bottom line is, you look at how, like, we're gonna fucking fly you out.
It would be a fine thing, Richard, to get fucked like that by Valve. Right now, we can't even get the touchers. We're literally fucking flashing our ass cheeks with the schoolgirl outfit over a fence. Like, woo, look what I'm into. Oh, I'm just this.
Timestamp all of this up.
These weeds are really difficult to get out. Oh, I'm gonna be here all day long. Can't even get a fucking look in.
No, it's ridiculous, mate. It is absolutely ridiculous. And like you say, they fly community guys out. You end up being part of TI. You end up being in the majors. They have little moments and tributes and little video stuff going on. And CS, it's just now. It is just slim pickings. Go and peck shit with the hens. Go and peck shit with the fucking chickens on Inferno. That's what we're getting. And when I think back to all of the stories about how guys like Anders and Semler come up with ideas that they then implemented into Go TV, and I look at how they're treated and how there's nothing commemorating these guys in the game. How it's like sincerely now, I'm fucking done. I'm fucking done with Valve. I can't defend your bullshit anymore. What you did with this DMCA was outrageous. It's people's livelihoods. It's people's livelihoods that create content for your game and bring people into your game and entertain people through the medium of your game and encourage people to play your fucking game, and you hung them out to dry, and it's fucking disgraceful. The end. I can't defend that. I defended all your other bullshit to the point where I got called a Valve fanboy, but I can't defend that. It's too much. Anyway, how do we rate this major overall? Turned out there were some good games until the later stages.
Yeah, the real problem it had was that basically once it got to the playoffs, listen, it wasn't as bad as the Faceit Major, because the Faceit Major literally had almost no good games. It had, I think, one, which is like Astralis Flares. But the problem was it was up there in terms of like not many good playoff series. Like, obviously, Astralis had some good maps, but they 2-0'd everyone. The final was literally the worst match I might have ever watched on that level of, like, Counter-Strike. I don't think I've ever seen a big playoff game in a major that was that bad. So that was terrible. And let's face it, we've often mentioned it, but it's just true. Like, I say it as bias. Like, I know I would love it if I didn't judge a major based on how good the games were, because that has nothing to do with everything the tournament organized. But I do know I do. Like, that is literally my number one thing I think of when I think of a major, is the great games. And so as a result, there were some majors I can tell you were absolute bollocks, like DreamHack Cluj-Napoca. Guess what? Had some fucking amazing games. So you don't remember that as much. Some great storylines. So the problem is, in terms of the matches, not very good for the playoffs. Had a very bad record there, unfortunately. A mixture of like the bad bracket, then teams just not having great 3-map series. Like, obviously, everyone.
Group stage was great.
The first group stage I was involved with, the like New Legends one, had some amazing ones. Like the Astralis games, there were the amazing ones. Those were all the overtime classics, lots of upsets. So I think in terms of games, if you judge the major as a whole, I'd say like it was sort of in the middle of the pack. I think that's being fair. If I had, bearing in mind, playoffs the most important. I will say, if you were there in person, they killed it with the stage and the arena set.
Stage looked great.
Amazing.
That did look like the international, mate. That looked really
And
impressive.
they even did that fucking thing from Fury Road where cunt chained up playing guitar when the teams came out.
I actually like that. Yeah, I mean, it was a bit cliched, but it was fun. It gave the same vibe.
If they could have got Immortan Joe to be there, perfect. Like, but obviously he's busy. You know, he's moved on to bigger and better things. He's probably doing Dota, isn't he? But, you know...
at this point, I expect RPK's next haircut to be fucking Immortan Joe. What's this cunt doing? Why is he trying to reinvent himself constantly? All you do, RPK, is look like a henchman from a different period of time. That's it. You can either be a henchman from dressed like fucking Hodor and just pretend like you're from the 16th century, or you can be a henchman from the 80s if you dress like a normal French guy from the last 20 years, or you can be a henchman, in your case, from some sort of fucked up Running Man type future now, where you just shave a third of your hair and the rest is like a semi-mohawk.
Me and Sam had a long debate about this on the No Majors Club, mate. And like, seriously, we came round to I liked it. He tried something new, and I'm on board with it. Actually, I think
he's all right. I guess he's getting older.
You don't give a fuck, mate. You don't care what you think. I don't care. I'd have my mohawk halfway up my head. I don't even care what you say about me.
Well, but yeah, the stage was great. I thought, the crowd, certainly the late stages turned up. Considering the final was just an abysmal mismatch, the crowd were into it. They did as well as they could with the game they got served up.
What they could have done is have Gabe N come out as Immortan Joe, and then at the end of the whole major, he just issues DMCAs to everyone in the audience, even if they weren't streaming, like, all your Twitch channels are gone.
Exactly. Would have actually been handled in a better way than what Starladder did. So yeah, I mean, for me, I kind of agree. Like, the worst major to date remains London, then Krakow, I want to say. Unfortunately, I'm very much the mindset that I don't even want to count this major because I know it's like already an hour into the show, whatever the fuck, and we ain't talked about the games. By the way, I'm having a whiskey to toast the end of my career. There'll be no majors come next time. They'll DMCA me specifically, probably because of that rant. So amen to that. But the player break made the quality of the Counter-Strike terrible. The fucking games in the later stages, the bracket got fucking skewed because people had fucked up and lost again because of the player break. They fucking lost games they wouldn't have ordinarily lost. And we ended up with just an absolute abysmally one-sided bracket, which led to great, potentially great games on one side. Turned out they didn't even really live up to their billing. And, I'm waking up at 4 a.m. to watch a Vanguard's fucking Renegades on the other side. Like, that's like when you have problems. That's like some fucking...
That felt like some bullshit that those matches even happened, didn't it?
Yeah, totally. So, that's not Starladder's fault, but it does affect the overall view of the major.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm like you. I'd probably kick it up there. It's probably above some of the early ones and definitely the ones we know are objectively bad. And it was okay. It didn't feel like a world championship. It didn't feel like anything special. It certainly was a forgettable one for a variety of reasons, but they didn't fuck it up. Not in terms of the show they delivered.
The external stuff is mainly what they fucked up. Yeah.
So games. Let's talk about the games. I'm just going to do what I usually do for these and just pick some storylines out. Feel free if you want to, if there's any storylines, hot topics for you, you can jump in. Let's just start with the first one that really leapt out at me. And it was this sort of ongoing issue with, original group stage. Sorry, Sam. You say something?
I think he just changed the region or something.
All right. Okay. Good. Right. Noise. So we had this issue, with FaZe, where it was basically like they limped through the group stage thing. Nearly kind of went out. Then of course they didn't do exactly great when it came to the actual knockout stage. They kind of finished in that bottom. Out of the top 16 teams, they were down in the lowest part you could be, like 12, 16 or whatever. So they didn't look great, and I think their ongoing problems are now very likely to be addressed in Rostermania, which is what the next episode's going to be about. So we can talk about that if the stuff that's relevant. But it just looked like a team that was kind of like they were there. They wanted to get to that stage again, to the Legend stage again, and secure their position, and that was kind of about it. Really, they felt very directionless. Watching their games, you didn't even really see the sort of high quality performances that you associate from NiKo, really. He had a couple of good matches that I recall, but nothing like on a level with a player of that talent. Neo, it's got to be over. Please don't join another team, friend. Please stop. But yeah, I thought FaZe were very, very disappointing considering I think some people even had them as dark horses coming into this tournament.
Yeah, my problem with this is like basically what happened to them at this major is what should have happened at both the last two majors. Like if they'd have just fucked up and gone out before the top 8, then they would have not kept this lineup together to this day. They would have made harsh changes as they probably are going to do now, bring in the right players and start over. Because the problem is, listen, the toughest thing in the world is to argue against a pro player who has a result on his side. Every coach knows you can't tell a player who just won a round, like, by the way, you did actually do like 4 key mistakes there that I don't ever want you to do again. Unless that player is a really cool guy, he's just going to go, no, you are wrong. I won the round. That was the correct thing to do. So unfortunately, if FaZe really does make top 8, no matter what, at every major, it's hard to tell them, like, you're a fucking disgrace of a team. You should break the whole team. Every time they can tell you the same bullshit. Listen, we made top 8, and then we had a chance in that match, and, we didn't get this round. And if we had, it'd been 3 maps, and maybe we could have been. They can always, like, sort of sell their way out of it with some angle. Because the problem is, like, you look at FaZe Clan now. Listen, I'll give them props. They did somehow keep vaguely returning from the brink again and again. They never went full Virtus Pro and were just terrible 10 events in a row. But it is a disgrace that this level of player was performing this badly in tournaments. Like, if I was NiKo now, you better be taking a serious sit down and look in the mirror of who the fuck you are as a player. Because remember, You made the call, homie. It was you who wanted Carragher out. So everything that happens afterwards is your responsibility. That's what being a leader's about. It's not fun, is it? Getting blamed for everything that happens. That's being a leader, I'm afraid. As your boy Carragher found out. If you're someone like Guardian, what, you're just going to walk off to a cushy job in Navi after doing fuck all for months and months in a team you said would be your last team? Where's your respect? Where's your pride? Yeah. You said this would be your last team.
Guardian stats were unforgivable.
And you're a legend at majors. People always say you step up at the majors. Then you look at the rest of them. Listen, I know Olaf and Rain, they're in different positions in their careers. Okay, whatever. But that's the point. Everyone, it just feels like this FaZe Clan time. They all know they were just waiting out their contracts. They just collected. And I hate whenever anyone does that. Because I have to say, I know this might sound worthless because I'm not a player. But if I was a player, mate, I did this whenever I've competed in anything in my life. I don't fuck around. Like, I don't just mail shit in. Like, if I do something, if I agree to come to your event, or I agree to do a video, or I agree to do something, whatever it might be, I'll play properly. Like, I'm the cunt in League of Legends who doesn't surrender. I don't surrender in League of Legends. They have to destroy my Nexus. Like, I know that probably enrages people right there, because listen, I know it's like you're trapped in a game where you're going to lose, it's going to take 40 minutes. But guess what? I don't surrender in League of Legends. So the idea that like pro players, the same little cunts, by the way, who will take their $20,000 a month from an org like FaZe Clan, then turn around and join together and go, and we want to fuck your whole business model up by having an equal say, won't even do their part of playing in the server. Because that's the thing at this team, right? There are going to be, by the end of CSGO, 3 teams that will be infamous for wasting their motherfucking org's money. And that's going to be Virtus Pro, that's going to be FaZe Clan, and what was the third? Oh, G2, when they had Smiths as a fucking coach and then a player for 2 years. Like, if someone looks back and they look at the market,
MIBR's getting into that territory as well.
It's getting there. But you know what I mean? When you look back in history and you'll see how much they were making relative to the other teams in the city, and then you look at who was beating them and what those teams are making, you're going to say these people must be the most incompetent players and teams ever. How did they do it?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely seem to have addressed it, but it was like, the good points were Rain seemed to have a decent tournament. I think it was interesting. Neo statistically was good at this event, but he cost them so many rounds with like horrendous slow reactions or inability to control a spray or whatever, missed easy kills. It clearly wasn't working. And you're right. I mean, this was a very insipid FaZe performance. We've all seen the Instagram pictures. Nico's out there with colds. We all know what's going on. I mean, and again, it's just like, it's disrespectful to the fans. It really is that you're gonna and your org. I mean, fuck FaZe, obviously. Straight fuck them. They deserve a team like this. That's literally, it's interesting to see fucking FaZe get used for a change instead of being the ones that use other people. But I thought FaZe were compared to some of the other rosters that finished above them, we're going to talk about Crazy. We're going to talk about Ents that went in with problems.
Oh, that's the thing about this tournament, isn't it? Listen, if the tournament, Rich, had just been everyone except FaZe out of the top 9 is the playoffs, and then they all play a great match, and you know what? FaZe doesn't do. But if I'm FaZe, I would just do this. Right, Nico, Guardian, Rain, these players who still think you can be very good players in this game. Who the fuck are a Vanguard compared to you? Yeah. Like, I don't care. A Vanguard could be on their best day ever in my life. If I've got Nico and Olofmeister and Guardian and like, how the fuck can you justify losing to them? At the end of the day, like, you can say whatever you like. I can dress Counter-Strike up as this tactical game with depths. You can just play off fucking defaults and shoot people in the head and you win the game. It's a fact. It's a provable fact. I know, because you cunts did it when you made the super team. That's all you did for the first month and a half. So the idea that like you're losing, placing way behind a Vanguard and Renegades, like, are you having a laugh? What is this?
Yeah. It was not a good sign off. And as we'll address more in Rostermania, looks like we're going to see, Guardian leave now and go on to Na'Vi. Looks like Nico's going to get his wish to finally play with coldzera. It's like, what a fucking, again, just an overall lack of pride. They did the bare minimum, blunder through, and secure the position again. And what an awful fail! Like,
oh, and by the way, just as a quick aside,
in the jersey,
just as a quick aside, this is one of the reasons I also want to get rid of the legend system. Fuck teams that come to a major without a real team and go, hey, win one best of one, and we're in the next major. What is this shit? You're making a joke of the whole concept. Like,
got to change the format.
So think about this, right? If I make a new org tomorrow and I recruit all of the Astralis players, we have to go through the fucking online qualifier, but some cunt in FaZe Clan, because they won one best of ones in the next major. That doesn't make any sense. You actually invalidate the concept of a major.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. I couldn't agree more. And, we definitely need to work on, I don't know, why the fuck did we phase out double elim, by the way? Why did we suddenly decide in Counter-Strike that double elim was bad? When you look at like how it works over at like a TI, and it makes all these epic storylines, like people battling back from the brink and shit. Like
it even just happened in the Overwatch League. So in the Overwatch League, right, their first season they just had a single elim bracket for the playoffs, but in the second season they did a double elim, right? And as a result, one of the teams that was a favorite to win did go out in the first round of the upper, but came all the way through the lower bracket.
Yeah.
And now the two best teams in the Overwatch League are in the final, which would never have happened if it had been single elim. It would have been just an upset, and like, oh well, that's a shame. It ruined the whole tournament. I agree, because like this is another one exactly right, by the way, where double elim would have been perfect. Imagine Astralis wins this major after playing NRG or Team Liquid in the final from the lower bracket. How could anyone even fuck with them? Forget even the whole angle of like there's a player break. No one would be able to say it if they'd beaten NRG like 2 times or Team Liquid 2. They'd be over. Be game over.
So, FaZe breaking apart like we assumed. Let's talk about NIP. Surely that can't go on much longer either. They're another team that, look, to be fair, different situation of FaZe. I can almost be a little bit sympathetic if the NIP players did phone it in. They were playing with a stand-in because of a lack of clarity of star ladder rules. Ahead of time. Forrest had his worst ever major performance. They got all this shit going on around him right now, which, again, we'll have to try and find time to talk about that investigation that E6 served up. Because, again, I obviously know the guy who wrote it and did his first ever interview in the esports community and have a lot of respect for him and what he's trying to do. But I didn't message him and say, why the fuck have you listed me as a complainant? When have I ever complained? So in this out of the 15 complaints, 10 were accurate, and then he went, as you can see, this is pretty much an exoneration of it. It's like, hang on, this is like Donald Trump reading the Mueller report.
This guy's fucking snobs, isn't he? Yeah. It's like, did I murder a man? No, I just pulled the trigger. A gun fired a bullet, and I believe the bullet may have killed him. It's like, get me out.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, it was actually the bullet, you'll find, sir. So, milady. But yeah, a bit weird. But anyway, NIP had a lot of shit going on. I can't be too angry at their performance overall. I didn't have high hopes for NIP. I didn't think they were going to be dark horses. I think they've got a ton of problems. I think the best thing about that team right now is Rez.
They also solved all their own problems by getting knocked out the major, so they can go right back to the online qualifiers again, haven't they? So if they make it again, fair fucks.
Yeah, enjoy that. But the reality is, like what I read in the post-major press, where they're saying, well, now Plopsky's back in the team, and this is like, we can concentrate on that. It's like, guys, like that is not thinking to the future. You still got in-game leadership problems. You've still got dedicated AWP problems. You've still got veteran problems.
I'll give you a prediction. Here's my prediction for NIP, right? First of all, as you referenced earlier, by the way, there is nothing wrong whatsoever with saying to Get Right what will happen after your time in NIP, or will this be your last major with NIP? That is all we know, because it was NIP in their statement who literally put at the end of the thing about how they were going to change players, they put a whole section that was basically like, and Krista Get Right Allison will be transitioning out of a playing position. Yeah. And they implied he either might like be part of the org or maybe he would be done. The problem with that is, right, they went out of their way to conflate his time with NIP ending with his career as a CSGO player ending, because obviously to them, they hope it's the same thing so that he never goes and plays for someone else like Cloud9 or someone and has their fucking jersey on. But the problem with that is it has created an environment in which everyone keeps asking Get Right, so is this it? Are you retired? And he's like, but I have never said I was retiring. Like, why are people, essentially. So the problem I have is this. I think if you look at what's going on, right, there was no news of Olofmeister going to NIP. There was no news of Flusher or Golden going to NIP. In fact, Golden obviously stood in here and still hasn't gone to NIP. I haven't heard any stories of players going to NIP. So I personally think with how up shit's creek they are due to all the org-related stuff that at the moment makes anyone with any cachet not want to join the team, I think they're just going to walk it back, and I think Get Right just stays for like another 6-9 months. That would be my guess. If you had to if I had to put a gun in my head, it's still a big name. It's better than like some nobody who will join instead.
You want to know what's hilarious? I had a vision during the major of the return of Freiburg.
There's another obvious one, yeah.
He
assuming the Fnatic players are done lying about whether they were speaking to him or not. Oh, like, are you guys finished yet? I just want to check if you finished lying or not. You can obviously always lie after the fact later, and just all your fans will believe you. But if you finish lying, good.
I did see that on Twitter as well. We'll get into that in Rostermania. Very weird reaction though. It's like, we to things that, like, the Banks drama was a bit weird. Like, how can anyone, like, JW's my mate? You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna lie to my face that you treated Golden badly? Come on, mate. You did. You all know you did.
What they did is the classic move people do against journalists, which is, because the scumbag knows you've got the evidence he's a liar. All he does is challenge you. Go on then. If I'm lying, reveal the evidence I know you can't reveal. Go on then. Reveal the evidence. Go on. And what they don't realize is, if I ever want to just leave this whole community, I'll just do it one time and just go, right, there's the evidence. See you. You're a cunt. Goodbye forever. And I'll just go. But the point is, it'd have to be my last ever time I do that, wouldn't it? Because I can't literally break someone's fucking confidence or to show like something that's privately.
People do it all the time. I got in an argument with some demented, mad backwards cunt on Twitter the other day, and to try and own me over something he didn't even understand. It's that Manny Anakal fucking pretend. Yeah, that fucking...
He's probably mad. He's like, I was the original fake esports consultant. How are you all going to take my swagger? It's like, I know. Anyone can make it up, believe it or not, Manny. That's the genius.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm super happy that anybody can just post publicly available statistics and call themselves an expert. Like, that's wicked. But,
He's not even the best at that anymore.
Yeah, no. He was in talks with Deserto, I think. He sent me a fucking remember, I'm a freelancer over at Deserto. So to try and own me, because I was calling out the Overwatch League and saying
I saw this,
with them embedding the streams, he said, well, Deserto do autoplay on their videos, and I'm like, that isn't the same.
What would the relevance have to do with the Overwatch League though? That Deserto does it on a site? Like, what's your point?
Yeah, well, he's thought I was an editor, I think, because he doesn't seem to understand how freelancing works. But he literally leaked a fucking DM where it was like Mike from Deserto, essentially is the guy who brought me into the website along with, he's one of the trifecta, you know what I mean?
OGs.
Yeah, one of the OGs, been around a long time, great underrated character in the scene. He leaked DMs for, it'd be great if you could maybe come in and do some stuff with us. Because we really want to, we get 20 million views a month on Deserto, and we really want to nail the business side. So I'm not talking out of school here, because me and Mike obviously have never had that conversation. But he leaked Mike's DMs. It's like, so wait, you're in a business conversation.
Isn't that mental?
Yeah, I would say I don't know why everyone's effing, but
the video keeps stuttering. It's all because of Discord.
Okay. So you're gonna ruin a business relationship to own me over something you've imagined. Like, it's like, people are mental, mate. And when I saw this thing with JW, like, can you really honestly say how like you treated Golden well? Are you fucking mad? You took your in-game leader who turned your team into a tournament-winning team. You made him play entry fragger and not be an IGL, and then you just got rid of him anyway. After a whole up and down situation about whether or not you were kicking him, after he'd won you more fucking prize money than you'd had a fucking sniff of in about a year.
And then just brought him back when things were going bad.
Yeah. Just
the real genius of that whole scenario was the tweet. Like, again, we can get into this on the next one, but the whole tweet they were replying to was one which said, in the latest episode of Pros Get Everything Their Way, to which they decided, no, I must have everything my way. Stop saying that.
Yeah.
Brilliant sound.
So,
a little bit of self-awareness.
Yeah, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? But yeah, that was a weird argument for me.
And by the way, it goes without saying, I'm not going to have anyone who's cheated ever tell me that I'm lying about something. I'm not going to ever stand for that for 1 second in my motherfucking life, son. So you can be out there fat as fuck with a massive beard, lying about, not explicitly you. That was just unfortunate. I was saying the royal you in that moment, Richard. But if you've ever cheated at a fucking game,
I think I'm looking pretty trim. I'm not Leonidas trim.
You've ever cheated.
I think I've done all right, mate.
Never going to let you have the moral high ground over me, homie. You can get away with the cheating. You know what? Congrats. It's like the fucking Italian job or something. You got away with it. Brilliant. Well done. You got all the gold. But I know you cheated, homie, so I don't give a fuck about you. You have no moral superiority over me. And also the idea that you just left and came back again. Piss off, mate. We're not in public now, mate. We're in a normal setting of people who actually all know the scene. And guess what? You didn't just leave for fun. Fuck you. Fuck you.
As if Get Right's in the chat telling me to shave my beard. Never, son. Never, son. Just because you can't do this and you're Swedish, you meant to have them Viking jeans. Where's your beard at? This is sick. Anyway, I don't know what's going on with NIP, honestly, and I wouldn't put Chris in a position to talk about it, but I think they do need to. Plopsky, it's a lot of pressure to put on a young player. Like, oh, hey, he's in the team now. We're going to work and it's going to click. And I just think those days are over. I kind of feel like they've become the Theseus's ship of Counter-Strike teams. And they do need a radical overhaul, in my opinion. But I absolutely do not blame them for this major performance at all, with all the distractions and all the problems, and hell, even a contributing factor. All of this. See, you're retiring, Chris. Are you retiring? Oh, Get Right's retiring. Hey, let's drag him out on stage at the SL while he's upset and ask him questions. It's like, guys, like he hasn't actually said he's retiring. Like, am I losing my fucking marbles here? But whatever. Right, let's talk about a good story. Crazy. Right, the worst rebranded team in the world, the shittest name in the world, the shittest logo in the world, because it's like, what, a 4? There's 5 on a Counter-Strike team, motherfucker. Well, maybe not yours.
Seems like it all fits with the branding, though, because I have to say it as well. This is a perfect example, Richard, of why I separate teams and orgs. Because the team of Crazy did a great accounting for themselves. They played a whole bunch of great games. They almost beat fucking Astralis 2-0, the team that won the major. But tell you what, the org Crazy can go fuck off a bridge now, because everything about them is a fucking joke. The name's shit. I don't know anything about them. The owner has lost his motherfucking mind.
Oh, mate.
He did 3 things at this major I want to bring up. One,
go on, do it.
One thing, he called out in an interview himself for owing someone 20,000 euros.
Mentally ill.
And then used it as an excuse to get on the morally superior, go above everyone else and go, and the rest of you in the scene should pay your players. You haven't paid your players. What the fuck are you talking about? Pay them and then talk. Then the other thing was, he also did that joke video where it was like a whole skit of him like arranging to get a 30-cent euro sponsorship from someone, which is hilarious to say to the face of a player who sat there waiting for money, etc. He has to join in this shit skit, which isn't even a joke when your org can't actually get sponsors, you dumb motherfucker. Like, here's the thing, mate. I'm not from your country in the Balkan region, so you're not a gangster to me. I don't give a fuck what you think in your team. And also, if you're making jokes about getting 30-cent euro, like, you couldn't even afford a hitman, mate. Pay your players first. I'll die in about 10 years when you make some money off esports. So, like, that guy just blows my mind, because it's like, I love the team. Want to say good things about the team, but fuck that guy's org. What a clown that guy is.
No.
I don't even know him personally, but just everything I saw.
You missed out others.
Bad. It looks bad.
I fucking hate this in general. So even if the cunt wasn't out to fucking lunch, which he fucking is, I mean, he's out to 2 lunches, this cunt. He's doing a 2 for like Louis C.K., that motherfucker. He is so far gone. But I hate when owners take the shine off their players anyway.
Oh, of course.
I fucking hate that. Your team's had a breakout fucking event and performed above expectations, and it's about them, by the way, mate. It's about them. They did that, not you, not paying them. It weren't you, was it? Well, guys, good news. You win this game. Maybe we can fucking mind fuck someone into sponsoring us, and you might get some of the money I owe you. Great talk. Shut the fuck up. Let us play, right?
He's 20 years in the past, isn't he? What's he doing?
Yeah. Right? It's so fucking ridiculous. But, like, he not only took the shine of the play, he took the shine by saying, hey, everyone, I'm a CEO. I don't pay my players. You all need to step up your game, by the way, in this business.
Why is esports so bad? Why are we the basis for the Joker movie?
I mean, I don't understand it. So he said that he did. Oh yeah. Then he talked about poaching after the major.
There's another good one as well. Oh, and no, here's the other thing. You're right. There was two things. One, he kept saying to Ocelot, like, stop trying to poach my players, bro. It's like, first of all, I don't know if your players are listening, but if they are, listen very, very carefully. You don't have a contract with someone who didn't pay you. You can leave immediately now for no transfer fee. I'm not a lawyer, so none of this counts as law, but I would just say as a piece of friendly advice, this person can't take you to court, mate. He's not going to do that. It's over. You can just leave tomorrow. Don't fuck this guy. There's no poaching. The idea of having poaching on a contract you yourself haven't met your terms on is fucking mental. And then the other thing I've remembered now as well was the other thing he also did was he made some comment in an interview, like, and when this ESL league comes along with $2 million. By the way, Cloud, this is how I know you weren't even involved in those negotiations. There was never an ESL league that had a buy-in. You don't know what you're talking about. And secondly, the idea
would ever sign off on that.
And the idea they'd ask your org to join. How many teams is going to be in it? 100. Why the fuck would they ask your org, whose best ever result was not making top 8 at a major? What, they're going to be clamoring on your door? Crazy guy, crazy. Hey, we need you in the franchise league for $2 million. What's that? You owe $20,000 to your players. Can you get together $2 million, 20,000? Like, get out my face.
No, it was mental. And
this guy, his next act, because he's not going to have a team for the next major, is at the next major, he'll just be out there filming vlogs trying to get sponsors in that fucking suicide forest in Japan that fucking Logan Paul was in. Speaking of which, there'll be more fucking active pro players in that forest than in your team, cunt.
I mean, it's all true. Like, I've never seen anyone that mental. Like, just a CEO. Like, first of all, like, it's all right. Guess how it works in Counter-Strike. It's not a franchise league. It ain't protected by some fucking god emperor developer.
Poaching laws. It's like what he should do is he should just get Starladder at their next major in the rule book to say that you can't poach players.
Yeah, well, no, but listen. But here's the thing. Here's the thing with that, right? So, okay, let's say you want a system like that.
Bad news. I've just got some information that Starladder has DMCA G2 for poaching.
Yeah. Let's say you want to have a fucking system like that where you have anti-tampering rules, right? Which exist in hermetically sealed leagues like League of Legends and all that. You have given up. The players get guarantees for that. Because the teams are like, listen, to protect our players, we're going to do. So there's a negotiation process. CS is still comparatively the Wild West. So Carlos, if indeed it did happen, which I don't know, I'm still trying to figure out why G2 would be talking to crazy players. I mean, I don't think Carlos denied it, but he specifically did call out.
Here's the thing. Both the French teams, as far as I know, were like a lot. Basically, the reason why Nexer himself said it is everyone's going after those players. Because like I just said, they're the most logical ones you can pick up.
One result, by the way, guys.
No, like, that's the point. Everyone else in the scene is locked down with the contract and the buyouts. Like everyone else in the scene sees these as the players that like you buy low now and hopefully they become something, you know.
Well, Hunt, I like I said, we'll talk about the results in just a sec. But like that guy was like screeching about poaching, and it's like, brother, you're not even paying him, you stupid cunt. Like, is this real? You're like, how dare they poach them away from the contracts that would probably be deemed invalid in any reasonable court of law because I owe them money? Are you on crack? No, in fact, you won't even be on crack because you can't afford crack. You want that crocodile shit that you make in your bathroom.
Oh, by the way, I've just looked it up now.
Yeah,
the best part is the actual quote was, we accumulated around 20,000 euros of debt towards former players. And then this is the best part. It just goes, this is my public apology to them. I'll just take the money, mate. You can keep the apology. It's all right.
Yeah, apologize for that fucking scratch, you piece of shit. Ridiculous, innit? So, I mean, look, man, I'm like fucking... I just can't believe that. And like, what a way to overshadow a fantastic achievement by these players. They were so close to doing the unthinkable, making it into that top 8, right? And they've come such a long way. I bet against them almost every game they went into in terms of my picks and predictions. I still think there's like... they've got a couple of issues they could definitely iron out. But Hunter and Nexer are fucking off out of this world. And Esperanto, some of the shit he did in fits and starts at this tournament was absolutely berserk. Had some mad highlight reel plays. We were joking about Otto and his ineffectiveness as an AWP. He had some games where he took over.
Against Astralis, he was banging, mate.
Yeah, this is a fucking team that really came together at a big event and have come so fucking far. And it's just depressing to see a CEO try and overshadow that. Now, I hope they get poached. I'll say it right now. Like, if you want to get players, trust me, this guy's contracts ain't shit. He's a dribbling fucking lunatic anyway. Like, tries to make himself look like he actually knows what.
Uh-oh. I'm still here.
Is it just me?
No,
yeah. It's just him. It's all right.
Change server.
Oh. Is he coming? There you go. You're back.
Right.
Discord's back us tonight, bud.
But yeah, Discord's been really bad, but it's not even the internet
tonight.
Yeah, you're just saying he's a dribbling wreck.
Yeah, I was saying he's a dribbling wreck talking about franchise leagues that don't even fucking exist because he wants to be the product for this team. That's like such a terrible sign. It's such a cancerous mentality. So I 100% fuck that guy. Like, seriously, Scoots would say, get the fuck out of my industry. You don't belong here. You didn't build shit with this team. You trundled along with a core of players. They did all the work. They deserve all the credit. So let's credit them. How do you think they should have been in that final 8? I mean, were you impressed with these guys?
Here's the thing. I also picked against them in this phase. Like, I didn't think they were going to get through to the playoffs. And so I actually think they probably overperformed. Like, the game against Astralis particularly. Because if you remember, there was a stat that people forget, which is the first map of that series was Inferno that Astralis picked, right? And the reason they picked it is not only was it Astralis' best map, but the crazy lineup had a 14% win rate on the map. And if you remember, it actually ended up being like reasonably competitive. I think it might have been like 16-9 or something. So even that map showed that they were kind of like doing shit that they would never normally do. If you've seen, they've just already lost on what I think was the fucking Arctic Challenge or whatever the fuck this land. There was some land that was on over the weekend that they've already lost to Furia at. So you can see they're not going to be world beaters. But at that one tournament, in that one phase, something did happen. It was a miracle moment where, like in the Astralis game, everyone went off. Hunter and Nexa generally were very, very good in the tournament. Like, I just think it showed the potential of the players. Like, the good thing is, all the players in the lineup, pretty much, the Letney guy wasn't really very convincing, but the rest of them all look like they have a future. It's just that logically probably not in this team. And when you look at how many international squads there are, just break them up. Let's put these players in all these other teams. That's the cool thing about the major in a weird way, is all the bad things and the storylines from this major, in a way, it was like, right, but luckily after this, we're going to have a roster mania, and then we're going to have improved teams, and then we've got all the circuit. It's like, if anything, it's just the whole scene's going to get better after this major.
Well, right. We can talk about another team that, man, I think this is the most fucked I have ever seen a team get at any major ever. There was one with NIP, I think, where in particular the fucking matchups were unbelievably cruel. But Mouse Sports, dude, like, they had to play everybody, and they even got results against these teams. Sure. And this is what I was telling people coming into this major, like, well, way before we even knew, like, who was even going to be at the major. I was telling people, Carrigan's going to do it again.
It's close this time.
Yeah. They were super unlucky continuing that streak and never making it through to the final week in Germany. For a sort of ostensibly German org. But, they had to play, like, what was it? FaZe, Liquid, Vitality, Na'Vi. Like, grow the fuck up, mate. You know what I mean? That is like an unreal run for an up-and-coming team. And they just got so unlucky. And they were so close in so many of those games. Really, really a couple of rounds here and there. But they can definitely hold their heads up high. I honestly thought they were going to do it. Sure. And I think where they finished does not tell the full fucking story. I think they should have been there in the final week.
No, the sad thing about it is I would agree. Like, of all the teams, they had the most unfair run, as it were, because one of the big issues is Valve still doesn't let tournaments have complete control over how the tournament is seeded.
So you can't do reseeding, right? Or whatever it is?
I don't think so. And even worse than that, I think Valve also did something mad, like Astralis was the #1 seed for this tournament. There you go.
Yeah.
So as a result, when these two teams, FaZe and Mouse, played the best of one, FaZe will have been the higher seed there because FaZe was top 8 last major, even though logistically that makes no sense. Like, anyway, but whatever, we'll put that to one side. Yeah, I would say the big problem is, normally I don't use the term deserved because it just gets too like loaded a term. But in this particular case, I think Mousesports deserved to be top 8 at this tournament the way they played, especially that last best of 3 against Team Liquid. Listen, people can talk all the shit they want about Team Liquid at this major. Only one team beat them in a best of 3, and that was Astralis. And even then, there were moments that were close in those games. So the idea that you took Team Liquid to 2 overtime games and were literally at times seconds from winning those maps was unbelievable. Like, I thought that was a big time best of 3 series. That, like, the good thing, again, same for Mousesports. The good thing is, this just shows that all the improvement they've made over the last, it's real. And if anything, it should continue on. Like, I actually thought, when you consider how young someone like Frozen is, all in all, I had an all right major. You look, I think Rops probably was a little bit underwhelming, but generally, most of the players turned up. Most of the things went the way they normally would. Like, they just had a very, very hard run of opponents.
Well, I mean, they're a solid top 5 team in the world for me. Like in the coming months, I think they've got the advantage. Rostomania is not going to touch those guys. They don't feel the pressure to make those changes. They're going to be one of the settled teams.
I'll tell you one other little detail as well that was really cruel for them, unfortunately, is the reason why coming into this tournament there was loads of hype for them as well is because they were one of the teams that people said in terms of like the player scene, the players were all saying that they were the ones that had mastered Vertigo. But as you saw in this tournament, they literally played teams who beat them on Vertigo and said, yeah, well, we actually already scrimmed them and saw all the shit they did. So, like, it's one of those scenarios where, like, they just got unlucky with their timing when they had. If that's a team that they don't play, that's a free win.
The first half of the Astralis Liquid game on Vertigo is probably the new benchmark. If you want to go and learn how to play the game, those particular sides. Unfortunately, I think Liquid had a very bad CT side in that match, from what I remember.
Yes,
but that is the new benchmark for Vertigo. But you're absolutely right. Prior to that, it was Mousesports. They were fucking ruling that motherfucker. The best professional game I think I'd seen prior to Astralis Liquid, that first half, was the Mousesports phase, where Mousesports beat FaZe like 16-8 or whatever it was. And, Mousesports have embraced that map, and I think it's going to serve them well moving forward, especially when we have these, inevitable roster shuffles. But I thought Mousesports were very, very unlucky. Hard road, super close games. Definitely hold their head up high. You brought up Liquid. Obviously, we got to talk about them. A lot of people's favorites. I mean, Pick'ems were absolutely devastated this fucking major. So predictions were equally the same.
Here's the thing I don't get about this angle, right? Because remember, about this major is the morons who spent the last 4 months telling you Astralis are still the best team now think that they're justified. They don't seem to realize that, like, first of all, the key thing is, it's not that a player break automatically makes everyone worse. It just puts this air of, like, randomness into the air that no one knows. No one knows how every team will react to the play. Like, Astralis got better. They did look like their work helped them. And RG looked better. So a lot of the other teams, ENCE, Vitality team, all looked worse. So the problem is this, right? Bearing in mind, none of us were there in their boot camps. And then secondly, I've seen teams wreck scrims that never did anything in tournaments. Bearing all that in mind, how are you supposed to predict against a team that's won something like 25 series in a row? How are you supposed to do it? Would you do that? Think about what people never stop and think about is the counterfactual, right? Imagine I picked against them and my reasons are just bullshit. Like, I think Astralis is just like good in majors and Team Liquid probably choke. And then imagine Team Liquid just wins the game as you would have expected them to in the summer. That's the shittest analysis ever. That's probably the saddest part about that storyline. It's mired the whole storyline, isn't it?
Sam's going to try and change Twitch servers because it's not his internet. It's not my internet. And we're just going to quickly move across servers. It means the stream will stop, guys, so you can type F or whatever other dumb shit you like doing. And we'll be back live in, I don't know, like a couple of minutes
30
max.
seconds, yeah.
All right, back in the game. Let's see if that fixes it, because again, it's definitely not us. But we'll see. So, just on the Liquid stuff that you were just talking about there, Team Liquid for me, the reality is that they were hands down the best team in the world going into this. The player break's obviously a factor. I mean, like anybody who says otherwise, I saw those crazy motherfuckers. I mean, we'll talk about Poker Dude probably in the next episode. I saw all those crazy motherfuckers that were trying to spin this narrative that Astralis were like obvious favorites for this event. There was no data that showed that going into this tournament at all. It should have been Liquid, but this is the point of our game. It's not like an absolute.
You know, the irony, by the way, again, we'll get into the whole thing separately, but remember, someone who was arguing that you should use bookmakers odds and mathematics argued that I was proven wrong by the number 4 team in the world, I think, in the ranking, beating the number 1 team that had won 25 series in a row. Like, don't know if you know how maths works, but that proved that actually my position was correct.
No, but this is the absurdity of that argument. The betting odd, he said betting odds are the best metric. The betting odds were in favor of Liquid.
Of course they were. Yeah, that's my point. It doesn't make any sense, does it? It just shows how people really do just ignore the logic and just go, right, based on the result, I'm going to say you're wrong. It's like sound.
Like, I legit looked at the odds myself.
They would have definitely been in favor of Liquid, of course.
No, they were. We did it on stream. You want to know what's hilarious? He's talking about how betting odds are a better metric than experts picking things. I looked at the stats. A dude in the No Majors Club hit me up with a document. He broke it all down mathematically. Betting odds were accurate for this major 58% of the time.
Obviously, there's loads of upsets.
Yeah.
All over
it's
the
like...
place.
It's like that's slightly above a coin toss. Like,
we'll get to this later, but stuff like people were arguing with me on this, Richard, that like a Vanguard beating Vitality in a best of 3 on LAN isn't the biggest upset of the majors. Like, what fucking upsets are you talking about then? Like, the whole point of that is that would be like the betting odds most ludicrous upset. The idea that like a whole best of 3, because by the way, for a Vanguard to win that one against Vitality, they had to win on Mirage that they had like a 33% win rate on. Like, all the math tells you these teams won't win the game. The only chance you have at knowing they could win the game is being an expert. You might at least have some angle you could take on it there. It's not going to come from the numbers.
Yeah. But for me, there was something weird with Team Liquid this time around, and maybe it was the player break, maybe it was something more.
I'll give you a little bit of inside info, right? Here's what I was told. From talking to the Liquid players themselves, right, there's a reason why in interviews they themselves were downplaying this. Like, for example, if you saw, like, before they even got the playoffs, Naf made some comment in an interview, like he wasn't feeling good. Obviously, after they were eliminated, in the exit interview, Twists himself made that weird, ominous comment that, like, we weren't putting too much pressure on ourselves for the major or expectations. It sounds weird, right? Because everything's been built into the major. As far as I know, that is based on the fact that in scrims for the major, they were getting bodied by everyone. So as a result, their own confidence was super low. And the problem with Team Liquid is their whole strength in the summer was every player was at his peak. They couldn't do anything wrong. So unlike an Astralis, which could still just say, well, listen, the strats still work and the tactics still work and this map, they couldn't really do that. So unfortunately, I think a mixture of, like, clearly their level did go down. But secondly, I also think it just wrecked their mentality. And they almost came in the match thinking we're going to lose.
You saw it with Naf. He was tweeting shit like, people had said, don't worry, bro, I got you from my pick'em. And he did that meme with, like, from fucking LA Noire, like, doubt.
Oh, by the way, speaking of which, there's another reason why pro players can go and fuck themselves. Because the same pro players, right? Luckily, they didn't do it this time. But, like, listen, you could totally imagine a world in which Astralis could have, like, bantered me, like, oh, you said we were going to lose, Thorin. Why didn't you pick us or whatever, right? Or you picked against us every time, right? Where's the consequence the other way around? Like, does Team Liquid come and apologize to me for making my prediction wrong? Of course they don't. They don't owe me anything. So the idea I owe them, like, to pick their team because they say they'll win, like, players never are even-handed with that shit, are they? Like, in fact, I've even had players, no joke, one time say to me, like, did you pick us to win the game when they lost? And I was like, no. And they were like, good. And I was like, what the fuck? Why would you even say that? You didn't even think you were going to win the game.
What does that even mean?
What the fuck?
Yeah. So, look, there's probably lots to break down here with Liquid, but we're going to pick up the pace for time constraints. I got to go in about 30.
All right.
So, just overall, this is worrying for me. Do I think it's going to be as big of a collapse as what we saw with FaZe? When they didn't win Boston, and then they just never had a shot at winning a major again? Probably not. The team feels too good for that. The roster feels too good for that.
They've also got they've still got like a mad average age, like 22 years old average age or something. So I even told them,
young. Yeah.
I told everyone in that team, listen, if you have to make one change, fair enough. But the lesson you should have learned from Astralis is they kept 3 of those players for 6 years. So with a core this young, I just said, you've got to go out your way to stay together. Like at least 3 or 4 of you should be playing together for the next 3 or 4 years if you're smart.
Yeah, and listen, I hope they don't make any weird knee-jerk reactions. It's strange when you get told you should get a major. It's your major. People do react fucking weird when it doesn't come in.
Yeah.
You know, at least like I'll say this: I was in a bar with Carrigan in Boston after they lost that major, and he said, "Listen, motherfucker, sometimes it just ain't for you. It just doesn't go your way." And I've been playing long enough to know that. And he wasn't, you know, like he was sad. But he wasn't like devastated like I've seen some players after a loss. He's like, everything we tried, they had an answer for. Every time they needed to come up clutch, they did. That is like the Counter-Strike gods are just against you that day, and we'll go and we'll win the next tournament. So fuck it. Let's have a drink. So, you know, mad respect for that mentality. Like sometimes you don't get over the finish line. It ain't no thing. We'll do it next time. But with Liquid, I do worry about them because they've been train wrecks in the past, mentality-wise. They're a team that were known for choking, like the Danes used to be before they got over that hump. And this should have been I personally think coming in, no player break. This is a layup for them. It's embarrassingly easy. If it had happened right before the player break and then we went into the break,
I think they would have murked this major.
Oh, it would have been embarrassing, I think. For real.
That's also the sad thing, because the second they didn't win this major, they automatically, without, I don't even have to go and check this up, it's obvious, they immediately became the best team to never win a major. It's obvious. Look at the fucking, like, remember, people forget this. First of all, everyone does this bullshit thing where they try and pretend Astralis, like, wasn't playing at all. Like, Astralis only missed the first 2 months of tournaments, you daft cunts. And secondly, that, like, streak that they had of the series in a row was after Astralis had even come back. So the idea that they had a streak, which even Astralis hasn't done, that was a streak that I think actually might even have beaten Nip's streak of best of X series in a row. Like, they were doing unthinkable things and they didn't win the major. So, like, this isn't that they just had one bad day. Like, they really fucked this one up, and they must know it on some fundamental level. Like, this was ours to win.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And it's how they react to that moving forward, right? Like, we don't know how much of a blow it's going to be. They're an NA team. NA teams do dumb roster moves and all sorts of freaky shit all the time. I hope they don't make any roster changes.
I even made a joke that you might.
Am I confident they won't? But
because this kind of tied into exactly what you're implying here. I was just doing it to joke with them and fuck with them a little bit, but I kept saying to the Liquid players, right, you might think winning the next tournament's your next mission or getting to number 1 and reproving that Astralis aren't good. Actually, your next mission, right, is keep your eyes on fucking NAF here, because the parts of Optic are gradually getting drawn back together in an RG. Stan's there, he's got Tarek there, Mixwell's in Cloud9, they're all getting drawn back. So I said, I was literally going to say, this motherfucker, keep it. If you watch him, because one of the things people don't know about Team Liquid, because I would agree with you, there's a slightly concerning sentiment here, is the last 2 years, like half the team could have been out of Team Liquid. Some of them were even literally cut and just brought back without it ever being publicly made official. So as a result, like, people tried to leave, people were cut. So the fact that they backdoored their way into an amazing lineup, as you're saying here, one drastic move could just topple the whole house of cards again.
Well, like that was exactly what I was,
because I agree with you. No. I would just double 100% down on this team and say, let's keep it together.
Oh, well, yeah, I could easily see NAF going to NRG, by the way. Just saying. You know, they'll cut somebody, they'll find a way. You know, Hex is there now. Like, Hex loved NAF as a player. It's super worrying for Team Liquid. Because let's be clear as well, because of the way the bracket worked out, you didn't just not win the major. You didn't make it to the final.
That made you look stupid as well. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's so very, very bad. Vitality. They looked terrible in the first week. Really bad. You know, struggling against the likes of Greyhound and all sorts of fucking shenanigans that were going on. Lost the map to them. We kind of saw, like, what happens if ZywOo doesn't go absolute godlike hard carry. Because let's be real, I think this is the first time since his ascendancy, he's looked like a mortal player. He had some series where he was underwhelming. It's still amazing, but underwhelming by the high standards he sets himself. There was clearly something off in the big games, the ones that mattered, rather. They weren't big names. Vitality should have gone. They should have had a much deeper run, and they even struggled to make it as far as they did. RPK had problems. NBK had problems. And without ZywOo sort of papering over those cracks, they looked a very ordinary team. I did not expect the shit that happened with the roster move afterwards.
To be fair, even though, yes, I did just say it's the biggest upset in major history, them losing to Vanguard. Obviously, that shouldn't happen. I get why they would overreact to that. But I do want to just laugh for a second at how outrageous the mindset of the Vitality players is. Because I don't know if you saw this. In the phase before the playoffs, right? The reason I'm not using the name New Legends stages, because I'm actually pretty pissed off that they've renamed all the fucking stages to different names. Like Legends phase was the playoffs. That's now the Champions phase. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense at all, but let's ignore it. So the phase that was just before the playoffs, right? This is where Alex from Vitality did an interview with HLTV.org. And he said one of the weirdest fucking comments I've ever heard in a Counter-Strike context. He said something along the lines of, everyone talks about ZywOo, but they don't notice that most of the time his opponents are flashed. They actually took ZywOo, the player that everyone's seen that stat sheet from HLTV.org. ZywOo plus 1,000 over 220 maps. Everyone else, plus minus 0, right? They've seen that massive disparity and they thought, not going to let them get away with thinking this guy's the hard carry of the team. We are flashing, but that's why there was a comment. I think it was Chris J. The second that they got beaten by a Vanguard had the banter comment. He just said something like, must not have flashed the opponents enough. Or something like that. Because obviously he had 2 shit maps, didn't he? So why are they doing that? Why are you going to downplay a 17-year-old carrying your arse at a major? By the way, son, keep carrying our arses, but you're overrated. Why would you even do it?
Mate,
why would you even do it?
and it's no, but it's what a blow to the guys. If anything, you want to build this kid up.
Yeah.
Fuck me, dude. It's wild. I'll just say this about Vitality.
That, mentally, I don't think they were there at times in this tournament, mate.
Yeah, well, listen, I think I almost want to say I think they had stuff coming into the tournament, and like a lot of teams here, I think because these are French teams. I've been around French teams in Source for years. We've already seen how the cycle's going to start anew. So just a heads up for you, just an FYI, by the way. NBK out, Shocks in. I can't tell you how many times I've seen that.
Weird how that's worked, isn't it?
Yeah. And within 3 months, Shocks will be the IGL of Vitality. So fucking pour another fucking drink. Give me a handful of pills. I don't want to do this anymore. But whatever. But they had fucking problems coming into this tournament, right? They had problems coming into this tournament. And you could see that there was something not right there. And also as well, they set a new benchmark. I do not. The tournament was still going, and they said, one tweet, MBK's out. And listen, I hit Nathan up because I said, yo, you want to come on No Majors Club and talk about it? And he went, brother, I'm fucking reeling. I didn't know. By the way,
here's another thing to say as well. So, all these orgs that are coming into esports. So, Vitality's a pretty big org. They've been around a couple of years, but obviously this is their first big CSGO team. So, all these teams want to come in and tell how things is done. And what do they always use as the go-to exact sports?
Yeah.
Like, who the fuck would kick a legendary player? Say,
I'm a Raiders fan, by the way. Did that. Fuck Antonio Brown for life. Fuck him for life.
He wasn't there though. The difference is this is like if he'd been there for 10 years. NBK made the Vitality's. Would your Vitality have all these players like NBK? Of course they fucking wouldn't. It's his team.
Yeah.
So the idea that at the end, your way of saying bye to a legendary player is up there with the chewy leaked fucking logs. Night. It's that's all you fucking said. That's all you said. You didn't say thank you, NBK, for your service. You took us to I have. That's a reference and a half. You didn't say thanks, NBK. Video. Thanks for taking us to number 2 in the world. We won tournaments under your time. By the way, as an org, they put them ahead of G2, one of the biggest orgs in the whole world. You put them in the absolute catbird seat. You don't even give them a big send-off. What is this shit?
And Shock's literally said to Vitality, my ass is available to you 24/7. Like, so that was like some logs we may or may not have come across in the past. Anyway, listen, I thought they had problems coming in. I thought they did themselves a massive disservice at this tournament. And Ziwu is going to have the odd tournament where he ain't fucking carrying your ass. And what you should be saying when that happens is like, oh, hey, we're going to get back to the next one. Like, you notice they said nothing positive or deflective about him when he had a bad tournament. Like, again, bad by his standards, guys. Really ridiculous. Meanwhile, over in the corner of teams that should have been a fucking train wreck but weren't, credit to fucking Ents. They still shouldn't have lost the fucking Renegades. They still shouldn't have lost the Renegades. But they came in, like, mate, all those photos on HLTV, which obviously we're not allowed to show you, or they'll fucking DMCA our ass. Like, Nomad's there. Are you showing the pictures?
There might be some news about that coming out in a few future episodes, by the way. Some of the shit that they've been pulling on that particular grounds, by the way. But we'll see about that. We'll see for now. That's in the back burner.
I like it. But listen, you want to talk about people being fucking deserving credit. Every picture of Alexi B, he was by himself. He was sad. It was just like,
why did they make it so ridiculous as well? Like, it's like, here's the thing, right? Why is he not even putting on a brave face? Why isn't he just putting on the headphones, music, everything? It's like, right, it's him on a unicycle. It's him having dinner for one in a restaurant. The waiter comes up. Anyone coming, sir? Shall I remove this? No, you can move that, please. Oh, sorry. My apologies. Like, why is it every cliche from like a rom-com? Like Alexi B's just sat there, like on a seesaw, just him on this end.
It was more like that fucking scene
on the other end. Like,
it was more like that scene from fucking Happiness, like where she goes on a date with a fat dude, and he goes, "I'm champagne." And you're shit, and he's like crying and walks off. Like, it was unreal, mate. Every picture they had of this cunt, he was away from the group. I mean, sure, and photographers seek out this shit.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
Yeah. We know the game. But it was just like, why is Alexi B by himself looking sad all the time? Like, dude, like, I don't know what happened there. I mean, first of all, if anyone deserves credit, obviously, share it out, give a percentage difference here, there. Like, your in-game leader fucking... Like, Ents during that fucking org meta was sick as fuck. Like, they were
another team you noticed that hasn't really gone out of their way to thank the in-game leader. Have they?
I called that trend. It's up on YouTube. It's literally a video called "Who would be an in-game leader." I called all of this shit. We're in the era of star players.
I'll give you the inside info on that one. Basically, they themselves within the team basically see Alexi B completely different to all of us. Now, I'm not necessarily discounting it. They basically say that, like, if we watch their game, and I'll think about all the things we praise them for, like, how are they so good under pressure? Like, why don't they break when they play better players? Like, they shouldn't be this good when they're inexperienced and have players that haven't been at the top level, right? To me, because I can only watch what happens from outside the server, I have to go, fucking hell, in-game leader must be doing a hell of a job. Look at all these strats he's calling. Look at the moment they took this moment here when it's 14-14-1. Right. Basically, they intimated that, like, maybe he's the one who wasn't doing that, and it was actually Alu who makes those calls. And, like, as a result, they don't basically think he's some, like, super valuable piece they had to keep. So I don't think they think he's shit. I think they just thought he was, of the people that we can remove, there's only a couple. He's one of them. Remove him, get Sonny in. My problem with that one is, listen, I'll give them, like, the initial consideration they could be right. Obviously, I'm not in their team. My problem is I just don't buy that could... that seems too black and white. Like, the idea this guy low-key wasn't even that good an in-game leader, but you still had all those results. Like, I don't know if that happens, mate. They had too many good results. And then I've got to add in, there's just a very different dynamic where you occasionally pipe up like, well, I've actually got a good idea now, versus it's always your idea. Like, I feel like they might have oversold that dynamic on that one. So I'm not necessarily against the move, but I do think it's a weird angle.
Yeah, and not just that, though. Like, I mean, here's another reason why I just think, like, do people pay attention? This is a group of ordinary Finnish players. Their tactics were what got them through every big series win they ever had. Tactics and guts. Like, they battled back from so many series that looked over. Sure. I think, like, their first tournament win, they, like, clawed back in a 1-1 series, and they were, like, fucking 13-7 down, and they win the final map 16-14. This is a side that had fucking guts and determination. And let me tell you, that starts from the head down. 100% it starts from the head down. It ain't players need somebody in their ears, giving them belief, telling them it's going to be okay. And this is one of the things IGLs do that they don't get credit for. It's not just coming up with a tactic, it's selling the tactic to the players, making them believe, listen, like those motherfuckers in World War I with the whistles, we're going to run over the top of this trench now, and the machine guns ain't going to hit us, mate. We're going to be running that fast. We're going to get to the side, we'll kill Jerry, and we're going to win the war. We'll be home by Christmas. You're full lying to them. You don't know how it's going to go down. You are running into gunfire, but you got to be convincing. You got to sell it. I've seen Glaive do that a bunch of times, famously in Atlanta for the major, where he just did that. Let's just rush out of Maine and just fuck Virtus Pro in the face with this like ridiculous strat that if we lose here, it's GG. Balls to the wall. Ballsy play, players on board, it works, your beliefs up, you go and you close out the series. That comes from Alexi B. And I feel mega sorry for this dude because he was even talked about as being a guy who's going to go to FaZe, right? And that looks like that ain't happening now. Imagine a world where this guy who's done so much with Ents doesn't end up on a good team. Like it would be mind-boggling to me. I think Ents are in for a rude awakening. Be careful what you wish for, because Sonny's a good player, too good to be in free agency. He's a nice dude, really, really good player. You do not have an IGL solution right now. I don't know who sells you a tactic on that team. I don't know who comes up with a tactic on that team. It ain't Arlo. Arlo's the type of dude who leads by example because he's a classic Finn, just emotionless. There's just nothing going on. We will be fine. He's like the Ivan Drago of CS. Like, what are you going to do? So, I don't know, man. I think credit to LXCB for holding it together.
Yeah, what a pro that guy looked like.
Yeah.
Perfect way to handle it. Perfect way to handle it.
Compare it to MIBR, who I didn't even waste breath on this episode because, as I told you, we're not talking about Brazil CS anymore. The way the fucking fans just behave, I can't do it. I'm not even going to pretend anymore. Like, fuck it, right? I'm scripting that Brazil episode, by the way. We're doing it. Right. All of Brazil's mortal sins in Counter-Strike. It's gonna be lit. You're gonna love it.
Immortal sins.
Yeah, definitely. You might have some problems with that, but that's a timestamp.
I'm never going to Brazil anyway, mate. Don't worry about it.
No. I'm talking about just we might have to.
Record that one off air, show.
Yeah, record that one off air, I think. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, listen, what a model pro. I think he held it together admirably. Like, this is how it should be done. When teams have splits, the timing was rotten by the org. He was great. And the team did very, very well up until the Renegade series where they were embarrassingly bad. I also heard they were doing this weird thing where Arlu and him were dividing calling. It was like LXCB's playbook, but Arlu was sort of deciding what to do and shit. Like,
I will say, like,
sounded a nightmare. Sounded like a nightmare.
I can't remember if they said anything themselves, but like, at least I was told that they actually knew way before the major. Like, they knew basically, I think before the play break, even that they were going to remove him. So I believe they actually did consult with him, and he agreed that, like, yeah, let's just announce it now before the major, because that was the weirdest angle, wasn't it? The idea that, like, you'd play a major and you already said he's kicked. Like, what if we win it? But I think that's the idea, was that it was known internally they would. So unfortunately, your theory sounds apt, because obviously they would want to start getting transitioning to the next team, right? They knew they were going to play Blast Moscow the week after anyway, so I could even believe that's plausible.
And what's so crazy,
I'd have played the last one legit, tried to win the major if it was me.
Yeah, but they could have had a rematch with Astralis.
Yeah.
In the final,
bracket, it should have been. Bracket, they had an amazing one.
Yeah.
That's one reason, by the way, why. I mean, obviously, Ents were already going to make their move. But if Ents and Vitality had overreacted to this major, I wouldn't blame them. You guys fucked that side of the bracket up so outrageously. Now, that's the easiest bracket you could ever get in your lives. The best teams are a Vanguard and Renegades. This is a joke. To win a major, well, make the final at least. Remember, just making the final is big money now.
Oh, for sure. And not just that, though. It wasn't like Astralis were God tier. They'd clearly put the work in the break, right? But, like, a good team, a good functional team can still get to Astralis. They aren't... I know they won the major. I know they won the major. They are not the same team.
No,
they're not the same team.
That's what killed me as well, because everyone kept telling me they're back. It's like they're not. They are. Again, listen, they're at the level of the best teams. That is true. They aren't back. Like the old Australians used to 2-0 you, win 16-8 on both maps, and you were like, when was I ever in the game? These games, they were in. The other team was in the game all the time, and on top of that, that whole angle of the Vertigo pick against Team Liquid, that was even the perfect storm for them. They get Team Liquid the first opponent in the playoffs. If they play Team Liquid even second round, or God forbid the final, what, you tell me they never get to use that Vertigo? They'd have used it already. They'd have used it because you have to try and win every game. I thought the most telling thing, and I'll leave this because obviously we can get to Astralis later, but the most telling thing for me was after Astralis beat Team Liquid, not a single one of them said they were going to win the major. What they said was, our main goal was to fuck up the major for Team Liquid. Yeah. And then the others just said stuff like, we did a good job, or we're going to fuck people. Like, nobody even said the words, we're going to win the major. So I don't think even Astralis thought what their fans now all claim, like retcon in the last 6 months,
Well, you know how that goes, right? And of course, people, fans jump all on it. All those fucking chuckleheads who were fucking sat there saying that, Astralis were never not number one. I can't even believe they're real, but they are. They were out.
I had a Danish journalist who, by the way, contacted me. I gave him a whole interview and he just buried the whole story. But he's probably corrupted in Nickel Nimes' pocket, if I had to guess. He literally contacted me, did this whole thing. And I still had him on Twitter as a result, right? So I just saw, him do a tweet. He did a tweet that basically in Danish said, and people said the era was over. All right, my mistake. The era's still going then.
Yeah, I even saw that tweet.
Remember that?
The era never stopped, mate.
Remember that amazing era we had where some other team won all the events and 25 series in a row? Yeah, that was our era. People just
remember that amazing Astralis era when they went to ECS and they got beat by fucking
Furia.
Yeah. You remember that part of the era? You remember?
Sick era.
Yeah, real. It was. I love that part of the era. Me, that was the best part.
I should just become evil, shouldn't I? And just spin it the other way. I'll just do a whole article, the Astralis era, and just write up that whole period of an era. And then in their era, they finished 5th to 6th, and then in their era, they finished top 4.
I've said this to you before. I've said it to you before.
Both sides of the game.
No, you would be a really good satirist. You don't have the discipline to stay in character. That's your problem. But you'd be a really good satirist if you ever nailed that. The problem is the truth burns too much, so you want to throw it in their face, don't you? Fucking have some of the truth, you cunt. Yeah, so that's the hard part. But you'd make a great satirist. But yeah, anyway, next team we'll talk about. I think we got to talk about Na'Vi. Oh, sure. Dude. So much to.
By the way, if Zeus isn't this bad player who wasn't putting in the time towards the end, tell you a brilliant way he could have made us all look like fools, overperform at your last major, and then win Blast Moscow, a shit tournament with not even top teams there. Utterly fail, make top 8 at the major purely by virtue of Electronic hard carrying you.
Yep.
By the way, notice how he got the same treatment the Vitality players did when Zero. When Simple played badly, Na'Vi looked like a fucking bottom of the top 10 team. And then you go to the Blast Moscow event, you finish last place. You fucking joke.
Well, I'm just going to tell you this straight off the bat, right? In case people weren't clear on my view. Zeus is a cunt.
This show is so unreasonable. So you just pass like your opening gambit. I'd like to make a statement. Zeus is a cunt.
No, listen. He's a cunt in the purest old school sense of the word. For real. This guy, listen, I got fucking sucked in. You could pull 50 episodes back. You could fucking pull a clip of me saying, hey, we got to respect Zeus and we got to realize because he won that major with Gambit. It happened to me, mate. It happened to me. I mind fucked myself. I overthought it. Nah, here's what he is. He's a drill sergeant bully who has literally cruised on the fucking talent of other players for way, way too long, dined out on his reputation from 1.6 for way too long. He's a meathead. He's a moron. He don't fucking know what's going on. I'm supposed to believe he's a great tactician. He put a book out that fishiest dude helped him fucking ghostwrite by his own admission, because fishiest dude can tweet that because Zeus can't read English. Blast Moscow, he's telling me he's finally going to learn it. Time to learn it was when you mattered, mate. You're fuck all now. So it's irrelevant now. No one's interviewing you in 2 years by the time you get English down. Waste of time. Whatever. But let me just tell you, I saw people in this retirement fucking thread saying what a great guy Zeus was. And somebody literally typed out this diatribe about how Zeus takes all the shit roles in the team and he's the enabler. He lets Simple and Electronic shine. He lets Flamey shine. This is the guy who takes an AK from Simple. Again, crocodile abuse is rife in the CIS region. Y'all got to stop it, guys, because it's skewing your perceptions of reality, because this guy takes one of the best guns, a one bullet, one tap headshot machine from the best player in the world and puts it in his withered, decrepit hand and does fuck all with it and then shouts at Simple when they don't win a round. As I said, opening gambit, it's a bold one. Zeus is a cunt. And I am so fucking happy finally that this era of his is over in Na'Vi. Him and Edward held that team back. They didn't do anything positive for it for the longest time. You want to know what the sad thing is? You know what we saw at this major? Simple's done. He's not God anymore.
He wasn't enjoying it, was he?
Well, dude, no, I'm telling you, it's not even that. He's never getting it back. He's gone. He's mojo. He used it up. He used it up on playing on that team with Zeus. So you could win against Astralis in Cologne when Zeus had the first 30 bomb he dropped in 2 years or whatever it was. And then everyone goes, see, Zeus has still got it. Again, Zeus is a cunt. He's a terrible person by any metric I've seen. He's worked on those fucking gambling sites and not declared it. He owns pro teams and doesn't declare the conflict of interest when they're playing each other in the region. Acted as a stand-in, I think, sometimes. He's held back some primo CIS talent in that region, and he has basically stolen checks and dined out on his personality because CIS fans are basically maudlin morons. They're the Scousers of Europe, it seems, where they just like, you know, oh yeah, Lord, Drebendine Saunders, fucking idiots. He's a garbage fucking player. He's a garbage fucking player. He has been holding back that team for ages, and now it doesn't matter, guys, because it doesn't matter. Bring Guardian in, brilliant. Simple's done. He's toast. You had the most godlike player for 18 months. You had literally Jesus Christ himself coming back to planet Earth and deciding, I'm not going to save mankind. They're beyond that. I'm going to play Counter-Strike.
He goes, I'm going to save Na'Vi. He goes, fucking hell, it would have been easier saving mankind. Fucking
It is absolutely outrageous what he has done. And Na'Vi fans will all love him and give a fucking reach around. And the reality is actually one of the reasons why you didn't fucking get more trophies when you had the best player to ever touch CSGO popping off for 18 months to the point people couldn't believe what he was doing is Zeus had to have Edward. Gotta have your yes man. Got to have your yes man. So Edward's got to be in the team. Remember the Na'Vi days in 2010 when that was 10 years ago. I don't want to hear about that, you old cunt. And then on top of that, Kane, the coach, and we see the videos of them bickering like an old married couple. Way worse than Taz and Neo used to when Simple there with his head in the hands. Guys, just listen. We don't even need tactics. I will just kill everyone. And they're not even listening to him. Anybody who wants to glorify the last year of Zeus's career, fuck you. I'm keeping it 100% on that guy because he's treated me like shit in person, treated Duncan like shit in person. And in general, if you know a little bit about what goes on behind the scenes, he's a thoroughly unlikable guy. And since I'm burning all my motherfucking bridges and I'm probably never going to work a CSGO event again, I'll just be fucking raw with it. Glad he's gone. Fuck me. And if you're a Na'Vi fan, you should be too.
Yeah, here's the thing. I do think over his career he was a good in-game leader, at times a great in-game leader. But the problem is...
Oh, he is a Hall of Famer, can I add?
Okay.
Is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. But what I will say is I definitely agree with the way you characterized it at the end there. What he did with someone like Simple, combining it with keeping Edward, which, by the way, let's be real, Edward only got to stay on that team because Simple made them too good to be bad enough to cut Edward. That's it. That's the only reason. So... keeping Edward was egregious because Zeus himself was already individually bad.
Yep.
Then he denied them a real coach by having Kane. That's also mad egregious. And then thirdly, it's not like this guy was MSL. MSL doesn't have a choice. He can practice and DM like you were saying God B was doing for 10 hours a day. He'll never be good enough individually.
You'll notice no one gave God B the same amount of clemency they gave him.
Sure. But here's the problem. I've heard way too many stories over the last few years that Zeus was just mailing it in, that he wasn't putting in the hours to be good enough individually, that he wasn't putting in every single hour in the day like Glaive and Zonic and the rest of those motherfuckers looking for strats and things you can do. Because that's the sad thing. If you have the biggest talent ever and you just do everything you can fucking sleep easy after that. You could go, if I wasn't going to win, I wasn't going to win. The problem is you can't sleep easy, Zeus. Like, everything you did, you didn't do your best. And the problem is, it's great that you did stuff 10 years ago, 5 years ago, maybe even. But this, at the end, this could have been a beautiful ending to your career. And instead, I know people will look at the record and go, a lot of top fours in there. They were in the final of a major. They did beat Astralis that one time. And that will sound good, except if you know what was possible, which was everything. Yeah. You could have won all the majors. You had Simple, for fuck's sake.
As soon as Astralis dropped off, Na'Vi should have been the team.
Like, people don't realize this.
They should have been the team.
This isn't even like a normal player. So everyone knows. I realize everyone who's only been fake following Counter-Strike for the last 2 years doesn't know that I'm a massive fan of Device and Astralis. But I've even told you, right, by the metrics of how you win MVP awards, yes, Device should have won most MVPs last year because his team won the tournament. But by the metric of who the best player is, Device should have 0 MVPs for last year, or maybe 1 or 2. That's what happens when you have a normal great player who will himself be a first ballot Hall of Fame. When you had Simple for the last 2 years, that's like Ronaldo, where he could go to any team, and score enough goals to win you the game and win you the domestic league. Any team. It was a joke, like how far ahead this guy was. You had Simple. Difference is you didn't win the La Liga 10 times. You didn't win all the Champions Leagues. You didn't win almost fucking anything. You won what? The odd Star Series or something. And one ESL Cologne.
One ESL Cologne.
Yeah, great, mate.
Yeah, well done. Sick legacy. But then you go on his Instagram, motherfucker be out there, hey, look at my new sports car and all that. It's like, dude, like, if this was real sports, you get crucified. You get crucified, but it ain't. It's esports, where everyone with a fucking narrative in their head about what a great guy you are and how much you bleed for the cause and all, they just type objective lies. Like that Reddit thread where he finally announced his retirement. By the way, what a wicked send-off in your home country. I know we're talking about that in next episode, but again, what a wicked send-off, eh?
What a shit.
What was that? You didn't win a single game in front of your home fans. You couldn't turn it on. Yeah, brilliant. Brilliant. You're a true legend, mate. You really are. You fucking got dragged on the coattails of one of the best pairings Counter-Strike's ever seen. Certainly the best player who ever touched the game, CSGO. And you barely won any tournaments because you were such a massive drag factor, and yet you still felt comfortable coming out and talking about how it's a team game and individuals don't win games and people have to step up on your team. Like, for real, 100% from everybody that is an objective fan of Counter-Strike, fuck you. You've been a tumor on the side of Na'Vi for I don't even know how long, and I'm so glad it's finally been excised. I just hope it hasn't metastasized. Because now, Simple, unfortunately, it looked shit by his standards, shit this major. And I think Na'Vi have wasted the best years of Simple's career. And that's what I'm angry about, actually. Because Simple is a guy...
Tilt you, though.
No, I'm already pretty tilted, sir.
Did you hear this info that Simple decided to play this major on a brand new mouse that you wouldn't even know the brand of? Do you like that? Do you like that information? The best thing is, I was told the brand of the mouse 3 times. I still can't remember it. I am world famous for my memory. That's how unmemorable it's not even a company I've heard of, Rich. It's some company. And the best thing was, I'll give everyone a little bit of insight here. I'm ruthless. So I actually did literally meet Simple after he'd already been eliminated. Not like on the day of it or anything, but just later on in the tournament, I was talking to Simple. And since he told me the best thing about the mouse and the reason he switched is apparently it has the fastest left click in the world. Like, whatever the switch is, it has the fastest. So what I told him as a joke was, like, because he admitted he did badly in that game against NRG. And I said, well, on the upside, you were clicking the fastest out of everyone. Because I am a cunt. I don't give a fuck, mate. My point in saying that, by the way, is like, why'd you change your mouse, you fucking idiot? I told him, mate, if I was you, I'd be wearing the same clothes from when I started owning like that. Like, I would never change it. Because that's a famous thing.
Never even shower, fucking.
It's a famous thing in hockey, no joke. If you go on a strip, like a point per game, you drive the same way to work, you put the same clothes on, you have the same. Because the idea is you don't know which of these factors, like, obviously, realistically, most of them don't. But the idea is any factor, even psychological, you try to mitigate. So the idea that you're the greatest player ever and you go, World Championship coming up, Just pull a random mouse up, mate. Just give this a go. It's like, your mind. You're in a sport that's precision based. Like, you wouldn't have some archer go to the Olympics with a different fucking bow. Or by the way, it's unthinkable a snooker player would just switch his snooker cue before the World Championship.
It's famously happened to a bunch of them where they've got like the yips.
Yeah, it was like if you remember that one, it was like the French Canadian one, or whatever his name was.
Yeah. Well, there's been a few where they've changed it and then they've gone like, oh my
Some
god,
never got as good again.
Yeah. There's so much but anyway. So,
I just gave you that as some hope that he gets better again. He switches back to the old mouse. Then he goes. He turns to his family and goes, "This mouse hurt me a lot, but it was worth it to get rid of that cunt." And then puts it back in the box.
But yeah, seriously, we'll talk about it more on Rostermania. But honestly, Navi fans, all that maudlin bullshit on those Reddit threads, all that saccharine nonsense. Your team now has a chance to be good if Simple gets back to where he was, right? Because Guardian, he didn't have a great tournament, but he is not the drag factor Zeus is. You do not need tactics. Like Duncan said with fucking FaZe. Tactics are great and all, but if you just run defaults and you're sick compared to everyone else, you'll win tournaments off that alone. CS is one of those great games. It's like, there's two things going on.
That's what's brilliant about it as a game, isn't it? You can win in many different ways.
Yeah, exactly. It ain't just like you are like a MOBA where you've got to be up on the meta and know which heroes are strong and picking which comps work together. You know what I mean? It's like legit. Like I could just turn up and hey, if I'm God tier today, I bang all your heads off. It don't matter what you do. Don't matter how good your tactics. It's why the game is sick as fuck. It's why it's the best. Anyway. Do you want to talk about a Vanguard? I'm not doing Renegades. I already angered enough fan bases for one day. Fuck Australian CS. Do you want to talk about a Vanguard?
Okay, but I will just say, just to give my own parting shot to Renegades, even though they played well at this tournament, you also fucked up, you idiots. You had the freest final you will ever get in your entire careers. You will never again in your entire careers get to play a team as bad as a Vanguard for a shot to go to the major final. So that is mad outrageous that you fucked that matchup. The problem I have on the Vanguard one is this is another example of why fans are detestable. I didn't say just stupid or ignorant, annoying, detestable. Because the same fans who want to claim they knew all along Astralis was going to win the major also want to pretend a Vanguard was secretly a really good team and people like me just ignored them. No, I was watching them. I saw them lose the best of 5 on LAN to Furia 3-1. I saw them go to Starladder tournaments and never do anything. I saw them to play a tournament right after this one and win against a dog shit field. This is not a top team. Like, I don't think this team will ever do anything big again.
No, it's a weird one because if you look at the results every other tournament, like, it's like, guys, like, you just made the semi-final of a major, your legends in a major, like, you were struggling in the qualifier, in the Asian qualifier that you fucking play in because CS is broken. Your players were not good coming into this. Gratisfaction fell off a fucking cliff when he had to spend that time out. He's actually never got it back. Not even here. Liaz, however the fuck you want to pronounce it. That dude's like a role player. I always give him his due. But you still got to hit your shots even if you're a fucking role player. And
he was the one piece of info about them as well that I learned at the major was apparently when they went on that summer run of tournaments, they literally didn't have time to boot camp because of all the fucking shit with his visa and all that. So supposedly Renegades in theory could be like vaguely at this form. It's just that, obviously if the other good teams were good, they'd never be top 4 anyway. It wouldn't matter. But on the Vanguard side though, like, mate, this was like the Sean Gares nailed it. The phrase is lightning in a bottle. You caught it once. There you go. Well done. You made it to a major final. By the way, even then, still further you should have gone. Like, I thought everyone was going to beat this team. But come on, this will never happen again. Like, it's just not reasonable.
Nah, of course it's not going to fucking happen again. Like, I mean, like, the reality is that fucking Renegades, like, this, like you say, it could have been a run to a final. It didn't matter what happened in the final. Either team were losing to Astralis. But the reality is, like, you played shit. You get this, like, fluky run. You take advantage of the play break. And, like, listen, my boy Azza, JKS, Jacob, those guys played sick. I'm super happy for them. Your fans are insufferable is why I'm not giving you more credit on the show. I'm doing a new thing. I'm starting 2020 early, New Year's resolution. If your fan base is insufferable, your team can get the fuck out of my podcast. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of fandoms making everything cancer. So, unfortunately, the boys stick to drinking piss out of shoes, you fucking weirdos. I'm done. I'm done with your fucking teams in CS, right? Anyway, let's talk about Avangar. This is a validation in a way of Angar making a final and overcoming so many good teams. That what we've been talking about for a while, that the solution to Na'Vi was right in front of them. They could have had Quicket. He even came out with an interview, which I love, by the way. Yeah, I totally turned him down. Fuck Na'Vi. He's given him that. Brilliant. You could have Buster, you could have James. Any of these players would have improved Na'Vi infinitely, which is why you were talking to them, because you agree with me. You can deny it now after the fact, now that you finally got rid of the two fucking cancers that held your team back. But Avangar, it's great. It's a great story. They got to the final, but I still think like everything aligned for them to do it. Like it's they didn't stand out to me as being a team that was an elite level team. I don't consider them a top 5 team in the world. Are they top 10? That's a tough one.
Only the way rankings work for my money. Like if you come second in major, that probably gets you in. But like in terms of like real eye test, no way. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And
especially not with all the teams that are about to make the roster moves. Come on, mate. This team shouldn't be relevant in a few months.
Somebody I feel very sorry for, though. Say it right. A lot of people who watched on my stream anyway. James got wrecked in the final. He got bullied.
Oh, he got fucking absolutely wrecked, yeah.
Mate, I nearly called up Esther Ranson and said, I have got a boy being, you need to get the fuck out here, Childline, and help this motherfucker, because he was being absolutely wrecked. And Device had his number. They all had his number. They were just popping his head off. Like, Magisk absolutely destroyed Jim in the final. Like,
by the way, that's one thing to say on the side of Astralis that I've got to give them mad props on. It's a point Sean Gares made, is there's no opera in the world that does well against Astralis. Like Simple doesn't.
Yeah, he's right. He's right.
Like Fallen doesn't nowadays. Yep. Like, I guess maybe to some degree Guardian has, and even then he's lost a lot of the reason it was interesting though is because the two players who's got it the worst was Cirque in the NRG match and then Jim in the final of Avangar. Like, mate, just go watch these guys' CT sides and you will feel so bad for them because they're not. It's not even like they're losing duels. It's like, have you ever played one of those games where you're like 10 rounds in and you're like, am I ever even going to get to fire a bullet? Like, I never see someone. I get flashed off the spot. I get instantly shot. Someone kills me through a smoke. You just feel like I was never in the game. Like, that's what these guys had to put up with on LAN because Astralis just knew, like, they were the masters of the fucking scouting report. They knew exactly where you'll be.
Exactly. That's how much work they put in during the player break. That's how much work they put in. But go watch the matchup on Train, where James and Magisk are just dueling an Ivy. Oh my god, it's one of the worst things I've ever seen. It's like Mike Tyson when he in his prime, when they would just give him some fucking like fat white dude like who thought he was a heavyweight boxer, and it would just be like, you're just down 3 times in the first round, and 8, 9, he's not getting for the count. And Tyson hasn't even got a sweat on his brow. It was ridiculous. Magisk was just banging James's head off. Even in the Deagle rounds, James would be like, right, finally, their economy's fucked. I've got an AWP. I'm a passive player. I'm holding the angle. And Magisk has ran around the corner with a Deagle and banged my fucking lips off my face. Psychologically, you do not get into a game after that. And on Inferno, he made some mistakes as well, which we watched. Like, it was unreal what they did to Jim. But I want to say in particular, if you watch the final and you judge him based solely on that, nah. He was one of the best players at this tournament, Jim was.
Sure.
Right? Statistics, they're a fickle mistress. They can be up and down. This guy, the reason he's got this passive style now in Avangar, and I hope people realize this, and I made this point on the No Majors Club, that it's like, obviously, we do want balls to the wall plays. And I was joking about it and saying, you want this cunt to go for it once or twice and try and clutch around because he's good enough to do it. 1v3s, if you're a good player, they're still doable. They're not, but what he does is because of the team system, he plays the percentages because he knows it's very important he has the AWP in his hands. He doesn't have confidence in his rifles. He doesn't have a lot of confidence in his pistols. The AWP becomes It's like almost like a JDM kind of character, but obviously much more well-rounded. He plays the percentages, and if you look at it statistically, it works. It's why a Vanguard made it as far as they did. It's why a Vanguard are competitive in the series that they're in. So it's a meme that, James saves all the time. He saves all the time. But there's a reason he does it, and it's very effective. And I felt sorry that the final, if he could have just popped off, they were always going to lose 2-0. If he could have just popped off in the final, it would have been great. But it wasn't. And I hope people don't remember him for that, because I'll tell you, James was one of the best players at this tournament for me.
Sure. That's also the other thing about the Vanguard side is like, I know because they have this story, cool story, by the way, that they revealed in an interview at the major that apparently, because you remember 3 of them are from Kazakhstan, apparently they've been basically living in a boot camp house for 2 years.
Yeah, no, they won it.
That is movie level shit that you would do that. The problem I have is
it's like old Na'Vi in 1.6.
Because they've just turned down Na'Vi, 2 of them, and they've just made second at the major and obviously just won this Blast Moscow, which to be fair was a bit of a ropey lineup, but whatever, they still won it. The problem is I get the feeling they will just keep this team together for like 2 years now. Well, the sad thing is I look at this team, there's another team I'd love to see break up or bring in new players, like one or the other, because the pieces are there to be really good. It's just this 5-man lineup, it's never going to be a world beater, mate. No. And the problem is someone like James could play in a better team, or Quicker could have been in Na'Vi and been the answer to everything they needed from an entry guy. Like, these players deserve better, I actually think.
Imagine a Na'Vi where they kicked Zeus and Edward at once when Simple was in his prime, and they brought in James dedicated AWPer, and they brought in Quick as in-game leader. Oh, fucking forget about it. That's the best team in the world, I think. Well, maybe if Liquid doesn't happen. But at that time, Liquid were on the come-up. That would have been shit hot. That team would have been unreal. How good. And that was a realistic possibility. That's the frightening thing. That could have happened. That team is a top 3 team. Vitality wouldn't have been in the top 4. I'm telling you. Even with Ziwu. That team would have been so well-rounded. And people are going, oh, Quick, even an IGL. He's led IGL multiple times for a Vanguard, and Jim has been the IGL for a Vanguard as well. So pick your poison. But remember, you got Simple, you got Electronic, you got Flamey, you
don't need that much
Jim, you got Quicket, exactly. And it's CIS Counter-Strike anyway. What are we talking about here? So take your stupid comments, stick them up your ass. That team would have been top 3 in the world. Possibly the best team in the world.
Thing is, though, like I alluded to earlier, just go and look at some of the maps that they're winning, where like their percentage on the map is like I think they won 2 Mirage games in a row and still were like maybe at 50% win rate on the map. So that just tells you, like, historically, even they don't do the shit that they did at this tournament. So like to expect to have it in the future is just unrealistic. Like, listen, fair play to them. They got a cool storyline out of it. Probably one of the biggest people benefiting from the player break, if you had to look logically, and then the weird bracket, everything. But I can only praise them for this tournament. I don't look to the future and see that much for them as a squad.
Yeah, well, I think they're going to get picked apart like crazy. It's what happens, right? I mean, But look, we're running out of time, so we're already over the time I promised I would do. But I'm gonna
chuck some stuff in the roster.
No. That's because we only got Astralis now, so let's do it.
Okay.
Astralis winning the major. There was a point where it just felt inevitable. I didn't want to believe it. I kept thinking that maybe they're all for. But like, credit to them. During the player break, they didn't break. That's pretty much the story of this major. It was like a psychological game of chicken. That during the player break, who was actually going to do fuck all, play WoW Classic, whatever it is. And you can tell the teams who did it. And you can tell
I will say that, by the way. Listen, it's not a big deal now, but like all of a sudden it doesn't look as funny how many of the team are good players with stuff like, haha, I might install WoW Classic. Why are you even saying that before you've lost a major, you fucking idiots? But whatever.
Yeah.
Could just be memes, but yeah, put that to one side.
No, I mean, memes are not. We live in an era of optics, and Elige is the guy that's like tweeting all this like sanctimonious shit, like going, you don't just tell it like it is. You're an asshole, honey. Like, dude,
I bet when you even said that,
all right,
it's
Oprah
perked up and he goes, Optic. Someone say Optic. So, am I joining Optic? Sorry, did I say all that out loud? What I mean is, I love Team Liquid.
But so anyway, I mean, listen, they put the work in. It was very clear. Their vetoing process was on another level to a lot of teams because they had aces up their sleeve, which no other team did at this major. They could pull out a Vertigo.
They also,
and we're the best team in the world
this
on
is a
Vertigo
mad
right
detail.
now.
Bearing in mind, over the summer, their map pool just went to shit. They had one map that stayed, and it was Inferno. Everything else, even Nuke, went to shit. They'd lost something like 4 of the last 7 on Nuke. But as you say, not only did they have the Vertigo that they worked on, and only had to use one time in a big game, which was against Team Liquid. Other than that, I think they played it one other time, maybe and were like all right on it. And then every series of the playoffs, their pick was different.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That would be unusual for Astralis at their peak. The idea you did that at this one major is like movie script level shit. Like, that's unbelievable. Because normally, listen, everyone's trying to work in a boot camp. Everyone's trying to work on a new map or one that's in the middle of the map pool. So the idea that, like, not only are you picking different shit, but then you win in stuff like Train and Overpass that weren't even your maps even when you were at your prime. They weren't your main maps. But you win in those maps against teams that want to pick them against you. This is legendary shit. And the key thing for me is you are missing the story if you think it was just business as usual. It wasn't. Even in this tournament, as everyone forgetting, they lost a best of 3, 2-0 to NRG in the tournament earlier, that they almost lost to Crazy. Like, that's the whole point. They weren't at peak tournament level the whole tournament. They literally eased into the tournament. And then the key thing is, once they got to the playoffs, they only got better. And the other teams, if anything, got more up and down and then went down at the end. Like, they did everything you'd want a pro to do. And it was, as a result, in some ways, this is the most impressive victory they've had because they were the best team.
It is. And exactly for that reason. They came in, they didn't know who else was going to be coming out of the player break, beaten up or having roster problems or internal difficulty. But it's also going to be said, literally everything aligned for them to win this major. Team Liquid came in like fucking, their box is fucking gone. They're fucking, we're losing
all fucked up,
scrims.
Everything, yeah.
Bracket ends up fucked up. Vitality, it's like, Z-Wu was good and all that, but we throw the occasional flashbang. He's killed 1,000 more people than any you. You got that going on,
exactly.
Right? Like literally. There's so much other stuff. Like I feel like I'm forgetting some stuff.
ENCE has already announced they're kicking their in-game leader.
Kicked their in-game leader. Na'Vi, Simple has turned into a regular CS player.
Simple's turned up with an actual real animal mouse instead of a normal mouse, and he's trying to plug its tail into a USB slot. And click on its eye really fast.
Like Karrigan, you fucking Kryptonite got absolutely wrecked by the bracket. Like, dudes, like, you have to appreciate that, yes, Astralis have proven himself to be the greatest CSGO team.
Starladder has literally issued a DMCA on Karrigan's legend spot.
Yeah, right.
And revoked it with the message, fuck you, /Nico.
They have proven themselves to be the greatest CSGO of all time. I would argue one of the greatest Counter-Strike dynastic teams of all time in any version.
I think for any game at this point in time.
Yeah, absolutely. But the reality is this, that they did it by refusing to be weakened by the factors that weakened everyone else.
Yes.
The roster changes, the team break, all of the bullshit. They got lucky with the bracket because they had such a high seed, artificially so. They should have had a much harder run. But as you said, we got to do it Valve's way, even though Valve don't really give a fuck about doing it their way. So the situation with Astralis was literally everything aligned for them to win this major. You still got to go out and win one. And the person I just want to say right off the bat, Magisk was brilliant. And as I said in the final, did so. Device, guys. Now I hope everybody appreciates what consistency brings. What we talk about. It might not be flashy shit, right? Z-Wu and Simple coming at this major are doing things you cannot believe. If you show it to a regular player, they go, well, that guy's a cheater, right? No, he's just insane. Device don't do that. But he drops between 20 and 30 kills every map. Every map. He clutches pistols, the likes of which you've never seen, like that NRG game. on Train, where Device just wins a 1v3. They've got no right to win it with a USP. That guy deserves way more credit and respect than he gets. It's mind-blowing to me. I know he's not the exciting guy or the most exciting player, but at this major, he was the
think
best
about that. Let's just stop for a second. Everyone in the whole CSGO community in 2016 and 2017 acknowledged that coldzera was the best player in the world and one of the best players ever. Meanwhile, the eye test tells you he is one of the most boring superstar players to ever play any version of Counter-Strike. Like, I'm not even aware of someone in Counter-Strike 1.6 that had as boring a playing style as coldzera, but had that many MVPs and won and was called the best player. Normally, the eye test is what kills you. So the idea that Device, who, by the way, even has a fairly similar type of a game, except he AWPs more than coldzera, the idea he's like broken the record for MVP awards, won more majors than anyone, won all the majors back-to-back, being the MVP of 2 majors. The only person to even put him as a candidate for greatest player was me last year, and I wasn't even doing it in good faith, essentially just to say, by the logic of you guys all hailing Forrest as the best, he should be the best. He actually doesn't get... What's mad is, normally when people say that thing like, this player's not getting the credit he deserves, they just mean, I want him to get more credit. I'm with you. Device actually, even to this day, is not being given the actual credit he deserves as a player.
Not close. Not close. And I've even seen people say that, like, oh, it's easy for Device to drop 20 or 30 a game. He's in the best team in the world and stuff like this. Like, guys.
This is the crazy thing. This is not...
He's the bedrock of the team.
The worst year of Device's career in CSGO was 2013. It's 2019 now, for fuck's sake. The consistency is unbelievable at this point in time. And this is unbelievable shit.
And if you've ever heard the sports phrase, form is temporary, class is permanent, that's Device. That's what he is. And simple, as we're going to see, I think, I'm predicting this, the drop-off is real. Changing his mouse, bad sign. Was never going to maintain that form anyway. We've never seen anyone maintain that level of form for that long in this game. ZywOo, what's that? 2 majors now where he's had ordinary statistics. Nico, ordinary tournament. 2020 is set up for Device to be the god and get the plaudits he's due, because he is going to be... he's same old, right? Hey, what's that? You need, remember when we used to talk about, oh, it's terrible, Device choking in semifinals? He don't even do that no more, and that was his only weakness. So now he's dropping 20, 30 every game without fail as your primary AWPer. Do you know how many people would kill for that? Sure. In World Counter-Strike? It's bonkers. So I doff my cap to Astralis. They are clearly the best team in CSGO of all time. They somehow managed to win this major. Everything went their way. But credit where it's due, and they deserve all of that. Device, even more so. And that's all we'll say about the major. We'll wrap it up there.
I'll even throw it at the end. Listen, by the way, I totally agree with all those points of like a lot of things had to go their way. Like, I actually think the most underrated aspect of what changed that whole major for them was exactly what you talked about. The first round of the first map against NRG. NRG picks their best map, Train, a map that isn't even one of Astralis' best maps. They pick that map, and then Astralis has a player on 3 health with 3 bullets in a 1v3 against a planted bomb. Now, the way that he won that round, already impossible that he won that round. Don't know how he did it. Like, the idea that's not instantly a graffiti is blowing my mind. It's better than half the graffitis that
I don't think you'll see graffiti again. I don't think anyone watched. I don't think it's...
Why would Olofmeister winning a fucking diffuse where no one can challenge him, but he just does it in a Molotov, be more graffiti worthy than that? But anyway, it gave you the most OP Train CT start you could ever get. You still almost lost the map because NRG came back into it, and then they came right back into their map your map afterwards. So it could have been 3 maps. So that alone gives you all. But you know what? I can take all that to one side and say, even though a lot of things had to go your way, when I think of some of the majors those guys went through, where everything went against them, they got the wrong opponent at the wrong time. A player like Device had his worst ever game in the semi-final. Like, everything that went against them all those times, it's almost fair. It almost shows you this. Like, there's a great quote that one of the old Fnatic players from 1.6, DSN, said in an interview that I did at the end of 1.6, where it sounded weird to a lot of fans, and a lot of them like tried to criticize it, but it just shows that they don't understand wisdom. He just said basically Counter-Strike is a game that has a lock involved in it, but in the end, the best team usually wins. Something like that. Like his point basically was like, if you're a great enough team, you don't just get one chance to you. Like you're going to get like 4 or 5 chances at a major. You're going to get 3 or 4 times where you're unlucky. You're going to get 3 or 4 times where you're really lucky. The point is, Astralis put up with it when they didn't have things going their way. And then this one, you know what? Maybe they weren't the best team in the world. Tell you what, didn't fucking matter. And I actually think it's even cool because if you look in history, it reminds me when Fnatic won that last Cologne on the way out the door. Like they already had dropped off. Like Envy was supposed to be the team that won that. TSM was better than them. But somehow they stole that last major on the way out. So the only thing that makes the Astralis story different is because they like self-imposed the whole break earlier. Obviously, they have a chance to be number 1 again. It's very rare that that ever happens. But whether they are or not, I just think it's cool that they did win this last one in like epic fashion. Because that's the thing, it was epic. It doesn't matter if they were 2-0. There were some epic matches in this major.
Oh, no doubt. So yeah, echo all of that sentiment. Credit to Astralis. We'll meditate a bit more on them, I'm sure, in the next episode. But we'll start wrapping up. So just to let people know, as you can see, I'm on the road. I'm in a hotel in bumfuck middle of nowhere in America. So the internet, I'm amazed it held out. Actually, the stuff that was happening was down to the Twitch server, evidently, that Sam figured out, and we'll do our best to edit out the VOD. We are going to bring you another episode of By the Numbers, talking about all the roster changes. This is one of the most exciting post-major roster shuffles we've ever had. And what, if you remember, what relaunched By the Numbers was Rostermania. It got
a lot of angles we can go on this one as well. So
So what we're going to do is it'll either be tomorrow. It'll either be Wednesday. We're super, we prioritize catering to our patrons. We want them to get the content that they pay for. We promise to deliver 4 podcasts a month. We will absolutely deliver that, no matter what's going on. But we'll let you know. Stay glued to my Twitter, Duncan's Twitter, Sam's Twitter, whatever. We'll keep you in the loop for sure. And we'll get into that. And then I know a lot of people who are watching this watch the No Majors Club. We are going to do the meme review. I would have liked the meme review to be, closer proximity to the event. But I want to do it when I get back. And I'm going to be out here for at least a week. I got to care for somebody that's going through a surgery. I'm Florence fucking Nightingale, so I'm going to be out here for a bit. It could be 10 days, could be longer. It takes whatever it takes. But then as soon as we get back, we'll do the No Majors Club meme review. Hell, if we got time, we can bring Duncan in as an outside party who wasn't part of the No Majors Club to help review the memes. We'll work it out. But as always, I want to thank everybody for the support on this channel. I want to thank the patrons who give up their hard-earned cash. We're going to do double or triple or whatever we're up to with your questions on the Rostermania episode because we'll have more time.
We can go hammer that one.
Yeah, we will, absolutely. That'll be a bumper episode. But shout out to our $100 patrons, Jerky's Minion, Detlef Insomniac, Reykjavik on Steam, and Alice the Alchemist. Good to see you up there, Alice. I know you're new. And you increased your payments and everything. You were a great part of the No Majors Club, super generous, so thanks very much. And our $50 patrons, which have expanded, Benakagi Assassin, Butt Pounder 420, Carve, Colin Penny, Daniel Sellers, Madsen, Marcus Kiumpa, Mike Feed Me. I haven't forgotten about your shit. I actually forwarded that email you sent me to a guy at Twitch. Just don't hold your breath. Twitch is shit. So thanks for your support. Sard Sawar, a new person, Sunmade Raisins, thank you, welcome to the club. TC Owens, Tobias Bernasconi, and Watch Doge. And that's it. Obviously, shout out. We'll be back either tomorrow or the day after to talk about the post-major Rostermania. Till then, take care of yourselves. That's been By the Numbers. We'll see you next time.